All right, so this is the Zoning Board of Appeals meeting for October 11th, 2022. This is a hybrid meeting. Anyone dialing in, make sure you hit *6 to mute and unmute yourself. I think, Steve, are you out there, Steve Feeney?
I don't think he's on yet.
Oh, Jesus. Okay. So Grover's only there if we need him, right, Nancy?
Yeah, we'll have to let him know.
All right, but he's not on with us.
No.
So we're just waiting for Feeney.
I mean, you have four.
So we can start.
Is Grover out there not?
He's not,
yet?
but Feeney's about to sign in.
Okay. So when he's here, you still have five.
Well, yeah,
Brian
five.
can act as a regular board member.
Yeah,
Thank you. It's nice to get a promotion.
only for tonight.
Only for tonight, don't get any airs about you.
You want to be chair, Brian?
Yeah,
Exactly.
I think Brian will volunteer to step aside.
Stick you right in there.
not right now.
Slot you right in. Oh, there's Feeney, he's on. So I'm gonna take a roll call since Feeney's online. Just let us know that you're present. Steve?
Sorry about that, I'm here.
Okay.
Steve Feeney here.
Larry
Via
Keane,
Zoom from my house.
Larry Keane here.
Brian Sullivan here.
Brian Murphy here. All right, so we're gonna start with, certainly not G, A. So Joanna Dixon, the petitioner is seeking a special permit in accordance with 305-1012-305-1301 of the Marshfield Municipal Code to construct a 45-foot 4 by 31-foot second-story addition over the existing first floor, which is believed, which will be elevated with the front stairs to provide access to the raised dwelling, and a variance in accordance with 305-1011 for relief from 305-608E3, which is necessary to provide adequate code-compliant egress to the elevated home in place of the existing egress on the property located at 56 Hartford Street, which is further identified in the assessor's maps as being on parcel K10, 15, 14, and is located in the R3 zoning district. Name for the
Dick
record.
I'm Dick Rockwood. I've done the architectural work for Joanna Dixon. This is Carly Tobias, who's a project manager in the office, and she is going to be doing more of the zoning applications. Seeing that about 70% of my jobs, I have to meet and greet you guys, so.
Yeah.
So, existing house is going to be elevated. And we're also seeking to be able to put we're gonna put a second story on this house. It might not happen as the first phase of the project, it might be a lift, hold for a minute, but we wanna get permission to do the second story, which is over the existing footprint. The reason we had to come back was we had to do a variance for that front deck. I have two garage doors on the plan, and for structural reasons, we really couldn't get the deck where the existing door is without extending it a little longer, just so I can have a beam on either side of the garage door. It's so tight that I couldn't get one to cantilever out. You'll see it in the elevations. So that's the stairs that are coming down on the front. They're working from the front door, but just more for a structural reason, I had to extend them. And I think that's why you requested a variance.
So the variance is a function of having to elevate it, right?
Having to elevate it, but usually if I have a door, I get a 4x4 landing and shoot my stairs down. In this case, I had two garage doors, and I couldn't, we couldn't come to terms with how to hold up the landing, which is recessed, you know, so it's not even with the
Yeah,
first
yeah.
floor, and make that work. So working with my structural engineer, so, anyways, that's, I believe, I guess maybe that is where the door is, but, and then we have the stairs out of the way of the parking area. So there's a little more of a landing, it's not really a deck, it's just an extended landing, but that's, so you're not walking right down, you know, where the garage door opens. So,
Dick, is that cantilevered over between the
it is
garage?
it is cantilevered, but in order to get the beams out, I was working with John Queen on this, and, where the two garage doors are, there's actually a post in between those two garage doors.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Is it
Right, so that's
visible
where,
from the
that's where I
outside?
enter a beam coming out.
So there'd be an outside beam outside the garage?
Yeah, sticking out, cantilevering from the middle out.
But the footprint of the structure is not extended out, it's
No,
merely the
Just
deck
the
area.
landing and the deck,
Yeah,
and the
I
stairs.
respectfully,
And I'll say the variance is so that they can turn around and come back towards going to where
Right.
they park, instead of walking straight down into the side yard and then walking up. Otherwise, normally, we would always approve a straight shot, no problem, because it's an egress, but it's the turning around and going back. It's that further extension is what they're looking for.
Because your parking is on the other drive, on the concrete driveway, so.
it's unfortunate that you have to come in front of us for a variance for something like this, because
is.
to me, it should just be a function of the building commissioner should be able to make this call, because you're doing it because you have to elevate. You wouldn't be doing this absent elevating the house.
Correct.
Yeah.
But it's our,
I think that should be a discretionary call. I mean, it's a function of the.
But I'm also here for the future second story.
Well, yes, but you don't need a variance for
Right,
that.
right, true, special
we're stuck
permit.
with this right now. I mean,
Sure.
currently, we're stuck in this.
Most we ever fixed was the height issue,
We
Brian.
didn't fix it.
If the height restrictions don't apply when you're doing it to elevate.
Yeah.
Unless you feel it's not necessary for the variance.
Well,
No, we,
I think you
you're
want
better
the
off getting
variance.
it than not getting
I
it.
think you want the variance.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
If
the
they're
way our
inclined to do it.
bylaws are
Yeah,
currently,
no, that's,
To go to sell it,
established.
someone could raise it as an issue.
okay.
It runs with the.
point.
another one on the list.
Right.
No, but it's a textbook reason for granting a variance, because the law changed, you've got to elevate,
Right.
and absent the variance, you couldn't do with the property what,
The law
you should-
obligates them to do.
yeah.
So anything else?
No, that's the project.
All right. Andrew, do you have anything to add other than your notes?
Nope.
Bob, you're
Nope.
comfortable with everything? Anything from the board?
I'm good.
Steve Feeney, anything? Perfect.
I'm good with it, but I'm gonna abstain on this particular vote.
Okay. Anything from the audience on this? Seeing as that there's none. So I'm gonna move that we close Joanna Dixon 22-76A, 56 Hartford Street. Do I have a second?
Larry Keane, second.
All those in favor?
Larry Keane, aye.
Brian Sullivan, aye?
Brian Murphy, aye.
Mark Corwin, aye.
And I'm going to first.
Did you already grant the other relief on this one?
We didn't because we had to wait to get the coastal, the inland wetlands done. So. All right, so I'll start with the special permit first. Andrew, can you put up the 10 things we gotta meet for the special permit? Thank you. So on the special permit, I move that the board vote to grant the petitioner's request for a special permit, subject to the conditions to alter and extend a non-conforming residential structure in a,
Well,
I know, I haven't said the conditions, but,
no, but Andrew's got 10-10 up there.
yeah, we're gonna roll that into that. So, thank
You
you.
want special permit or variance?
Special permit, please.
305, 10, 12?
Yeah. So is everyone in agreement with 1 through 10 up there? I am.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, so those, and conditions to alter and extend a non-conforming residential structure and is based on the finding the applicant has demonstrated that they meet all the requirements in section 1012 of the bylaw, and that granting the proposal for relief would not be substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood. Do I have a second?
Larry Keane, second.
All those in favor?
Larry Keane, aye.
Ryan Sullivan, aye.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Mark Corwin, aye.
Frank, can I just ask you a question? What are the
Sure.
conditions?
The conditions are as built. Oh, yeah, sorry, I have those in front of me.
You might want to, the inland.
So this project require a building permit, full elevation certificate, proposed during construction and final, a non-conversion agreement, Andrew, a certified as-built site plan, and a certificate of occupancy.
And when you're dealing with those inland wetland district regulations, you can also require that notice be given to prospective purchasers of steps undertaken to alleviate the effects of flooding, if you want it. It's discretionary.
All right. Can add that in, Nancy. And, so then, on the inland wetlands district, I move that the board vote to grant the petitioner's request for a special permit, subject to the conditions Bob said.
Same conditions.
Same conditions as the former. To alter and extend the non-conforming residential structure in an inland wetland district based on a finding that the applicant has demonstrated that they meet all the requirements in the section 13.01.f4 of the bylaw. Well, do we have to agree with anything in there, Andrew, just that, the inland wetlands?
That's fine, that's good enough, I think.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Larry Keane, second.
All those in favor?
Larry Keane, aye.
Ryan Sullivan, aye.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Mark Corwin, aye.
And finally, for the dimensional variance, I move that the board vote to grant the petitioner's request for a dimensional variance, subject to the same conditions earlier, Nancy, to allow the petitioner to reconstruct the proposed residence as shown on the plan dated January 28th, 2022, with revisions through July 19th, 2022, based on a finding that the applicant has demonstrated that they meet all the requirements in section 10.11 of the bylaw. Andrew, you got the, thank you. Do we agree with the variance?
I think you ought to just add a rationale that the variance is being granted as a result of the change in the requirements relating to flood elevations.
So we're gonna add that the variance is being,
Minimum
Approved.
safety requirements for egress, or minimum egress requirements.
to meet the minimum safety egress requirements due to the floodplain change. Flood. Good enough, Andrew?
Yep.
All right. And we all agree with, they met the conditions in the variance
Yes.
up there, 1 through 5. Do I have a second?
Larry Keane, second.
All those in favor?
Larry Keane, aye.
Ryan Sullivan, aye.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Mark Corwin, aye.
All right, thank you. Are you with us again?
I think I am.
No, I just buried it naturally. So, we have 22-77A, Ellen Quinn and Terrence Watts. The petitioners are seeking a special permit in accordance with 305-1012 and 305-1301C1 of the Marshfield Municipal Code to construct a 10-foot by 22-foot addition on the right-hand side of an existing dwelling on the property located at 18 Billings Road, which is further identified as, on the assessor's maps, as being L101003 and located in the B3 zoning district.
Okay,
You've already introduced yourself,
okay.
so.
Well, Dick Rockwood here for Ellen and Quinn and Terrence Watts. We are doing a 10 by 22 addition on the right side of the house, 1 story. And the hearing was postponed based on the letter for the inland wetland last week. So we really didn't get into it, but it's really just a 1-story addition that we're adding on. It'll be on helical piers. There's also a deck in the front, but that's not necessarily a zoning condition.
Andrew, you have anything other than the notes you've given us?
No, I met with the owners and they know that the changes that have to happen for it not to be a substantial improvement within the plans. So
Okay,
there's a couple of changes that we have to make, but we'll hit that on the building permit part of it.
great. Bob, anything?
Nope.
Anything from the board?
I'm good.
All right. Steve, you're all good?
Yeah, I'm good, Brian.
Thank you. Anything from the audience on this? Seeing that there's none, I will make a motion that we close 22-77A, Ellen Quinn and Terrence Watts, 18 Billings Road. Do I have a second?
Larry Keane, second.
All those in favor?
Larry Keane, aye.
Brian Sullivan, aye?
Brian Murphy, aye.
Mark Corwin, aye.
Steve?
Steve Feeney, aye.
Thank you. All right, now I'll make a motion that we, for the special permit, I move that the board vote to grant the petitioner's request for a special permit, subject to the conditions. Of course, did I cover those things? With a building permit, full elevation certificate posed during construction and final construction, a non-conversion agreement, certified as-built site plan, and a certificate of occupancy to alter and extend the non-conforming residential structure in and based on a finding that the applicant has demonstrated that they meet all the requirements in the section 1012 of the bylaw, and granting the proposed relief will not be substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood. Do I have a second?
Larry Keane, second.
All those in favor?
Larry Keane, aye.
Brian Sullivan, aye?
Brian Murphy, aye.
Mark Corwin, aye.
Steve Feeney, aye.
Thank you. Now we'll handle the inland wetland. I move that the board vote to grant the petitioner's request for a special permit, subject to the conditions to, same as the prior ones, Nancy, to alter and extend a non-conforming residential structure in an inland wetland district based on the findings that the applicant has demonstrated that she meets all the requirements of section 13.01.F4 of the bylaw. Do I have a second? Oh, and let's agree with those things like we didn't on the...
Yep.
We agree with the inland wetlands fact finding in
Yes.
front of us?
I do.
Yeah, I do. And the special permit also actually covering the first one. So, that's good. So do I have a second?
Larry Keane, second.
All those in favor?
Larry Keane, aye.
Brian Sullivan, aye?
Brian Murphy, aye.
Mark Corwin, aye.
Steve Feeney, aye.
Thank you.
All right, thank
You
you.
on again, or is that it?
I have two others, but
Oh, no, we'll let you wait. You know,
I know, that's fine.
take care of you, know, let you sit here. All right, so,
Thank you.
guys, a disaster. So we have Andrea Manning, 22-95. Hello, and I'm going to read it into the record. In accordance with 305-10.09 of the Marshfield Municipal Code, the petitioner is seeking an appeal of the building commissioner's determination that the owner of the subject property is in the process of constructing a single-family dwelling. The equipment on the property being used to support the active construction and the activity in question does not violate town bylaws, zoning bylaws, or the building code on the property located at 167 Planning Fields Road, which is further identified on the assessor's maps as being on parcel E090128A and is located in R2 zoning district. Name and address for the record.
Yep, I'm Andrea Manning. I live at 20 South Sprague Drive.
I'm Priya Barkur. I'm at 18 Seth Sprague Drive.
Go ahead.
Okay, well, thank you for having us.
Brian, the board should really hear from the building commissioner first.
Oh, sure.
Oh, okay. Andrew, can we hear from you?
He has the burden.
Yep, I received a couple of complaints, through, I think, the building department. I think the town council at one point called me over the summer. I heard something. The town administrator, I heard something. So we were up there quite a few times during different conditions, hot and dry, also right after rains. So Mr. Calcagni is building a house all the way at the top of Planting Fields Road. I'll bring it up on the map here. It's the last house in a development up there, the last lot. So you can imagine when everything got developed, you know, the Calcagni would always use this area as kind of a lay-down yard. And then when everything got developed, they put a lot of the spoils and different piles of loam and dirt on this property out here. And he's continued to kind of use it as a lay-down yard since the rest of the development was made. Now he's clearing it and using it to build his house on it, and he's been using all the dirt on there to grade the property, sift it out, and he's going to use it for loam on there. So, I mean, I've been there on days that he's grading, I've been there on days that he's sifting, I've seen dust, I've also seen stuff contained. To me, it's normal construction operations of building a house and dealing with that type of dirt that's left over from there. But I feel like he's making use of it. I saw no evidence that he's been selling it or anything like that, or using it in commercial operations. I met with him, and he's assured me that he hasn't and that he's using it there. And I felt there was really no violation that was either specified in the request for enforcement or anything that I could really find on it.
Thank you.
Okay. So I'm representing all the houses in our neighborhood that abut his property. His house is directly behind my house. We have been watching him construct his property for almost 2 years now. At this point, his house is built. And the commotion and just the trucks that are going in and out have not stopped or slowed down. In fact, I bet if Andrew Stewart were to come back and see, there's been little to no progress since he's been out, but yet there's been daily work. He starts his work at 7 a.m. and runs heavy machinery for 8 hours a day, if not more, Saturdays included. It is to the point where we have a pool in the backyard, and we have to run our pool filter 24/7. Our vacuum, we have to have it constantly running. If we have it shut off, there is a layer of dirt and sand at the bottom of the pool. Our filter broke twice this summer. Our vacuum broke once this summer. It is the just constant beeping all day long, 6 days a week. Like I said, we cannot keep our windows open in our house. I have a toddler who can't nap. It is so loud all the time. Her daughter has asthma. My husband has asthma. The amount of just dust and debris that is in the air constantly. It's really windy up there, and especially with the trucks moving, there is just a constant dust in the air. It hasn't stopped. It is ever since he came out, and like I said, he has been out there daily, and I would like him to come back out and see. There has been zero progress. We have pictures to show. We have videos, but we were told we can't do a PowerPoint presentation. So,
If you could.
Yes. You can actually see the dust in these pictures in the air. And these are just taken.
Do you mind if we keep this on
Yeah,
for the record?
I
You have
I
videos to
copies.
show?
We have videos of just the noise. It is constant. And it's
And
been
how
going on
recent
for.
are these photos that I'm looking at?
They're some of them are from this week, some of them are from a month ago, some of them are from May. I mean, it is just a constant construct. It feels like we live behind Boston Sand and Gravel.
Yeah.
Like that is the caliber of these machines and just how he runs them.
And they're huge machines. They're not.
We're not talking like a
small
little bobcat.
bobcats.
Like we're
They're-
talking big excavators and like a sifting machine that he has constantly going. And he is giving, this is his own Facebook page. He's giving away the dirt and that he's not using this loom for his own property. We printed that off of his own Facebook
Oh,
page.
sorry.
Like,
Andrea, can I ask you a few questions?
Of course.
You said that he's out there daily.
Yes.
Are you talking about the owner of the property or?
I don't know. I've never even met Mr. Calcagni. I don't know who's out there, but there are people out there running these machines
And
daily.
how many machines are operating at any given time?
At least 2.
Yeah, generally two.
And if I am to understand what the building commissioner said in his letter, there's a screener that's being used to screen the loam that's on site?
Yes.
Have you witnessed trucks introducing material from off-site onto the site, or is he processing material that's on-site?
There, in the past, there's certainly been dirt that has been brought in. Right now, the way that the trees are, I can't see directly onto his property. I mean, I'm not out there policing him, what he's doing. What we're hearing is just like the constant beeping, the machines that are, it shakes the house. That is how loud and how.
It's heavy equipment. Now, Andrew, from your interactions with Mr. Calcagni, is he grading the material that was on site that's from the development of Planting Fields Road?
Yeah, you can see it here in this picture on the screen. This is what it was a little over a year ago. So you can see he's always had his machinery on here. This was after he put all his erosion control up here originally.
We can't see that, right?
We can't see anything
Oh,
other than
We
you.
have just the people.
can you see?
Yes.
Yep, we got it now.
Right. So this was a little over a year ago. You can see there's several large leftover piles that have been up there for quite a
Right.
long time. He's kind of had this excavator hanging around on site for years. Like I said, it's been used as a laydown yard for his business. But as you can see, like the gravel pile, these piles, they really haven't changed a lot in the last few years until he got permits. And this is when he brought his trucks onto the property. So he has a front end loader, he has a truck, he has a couple of his own personal trucks. There's a little trailer. He's got the shaker deck there, and a big wheel trailer there. So as you can see, he started to, with that same excavator that's been on site, started working these piles, moving them around, pushing stuff around to get it organized, start grading the site, continued grading, then also excavated for the new foundation. Those spoils from that excavation created this new pile. This is July, where you can see he's now graded out all this with those piles that were out front. Meanwhile, he's using the shaker deck to get the rocks out of everything. He's using that front end loader that you saw there, the same excavator, the same truck. When he left his business, he sold his business on Plain Street, and he brought all these trucks over onto this property, and he's left them there ever since. Every time I've gone over there, Mr. Calcagni has been the person operating the machinery. So that's all I can say.
Thank
That's
you.
what I've witnessed every time I've gone there.
Thank you. Does Mr. Calcagni have a time frame of when the grading and the site work will be complete?
I mean, the house right now is up to an insulation inspection, so probably at this point, they've got it sheetrocked and plastered. They're working on trim and painting and kind of finishing up the interior of the house. So I would imagine his goal is to get everything graded, at least right around the house, so that he can have it ready to have his egress and everything like that and live in the house. Because as far as I know, his intent is to live in that house. And then continue to work on those piles in the back and use them to grade out the rest of this property and make it a nice landscaped property.
Thank you.
How big is this total lot, Andrew?
4 acres.
So it's a good sized lot.
Yeah, very good size. And it extends down into these woods over here.
Andrea, I understand it's a nuisance that he's doing this, and it's a pain in the neck, but I don't hear anything that tells me that it's anything other than what the building inspector said it is.
How long would you expect a project like this to last with 8 hours a day of machinery running? Like,
It's-
over a year? I mean, because that's where we are right now.
It can take 2 years. It just.
Yeah, he's got 4 acres to sift and grade.
Can we request for an end date or some kind of a,
You could have a conversation with Mr. Calcagni. That's probably a good place to start.
can we request Mr. Kalkagni to maybe scale down the size of the machinery? Because
This is America.
It's
You
the,
can-
it's the size, it's just the.
This is not a board that has that kind of authority.
Yeah, we can't request that he do that. You could have a conversation with him as a neighbor.
All right.
But you've appealed a decision of the building commissioner. And the building commissioner has laid out what he found when he was out there. And I understand it's a pain in the neck, and I understand that it's an inconvenience, and I'm sorry about the dust and the asthma and the pool and all of that. I'm sorry. But I don't hear anything that says that it's anything other than what the building commissioner found.
Okay, I just.
If he was bringing trucks in and he was running a commercial like Boston Sand and Gravel, it's a different story. But this is the material that was on site. And it was, my guess is that it was on site when you folks moved to your homes.
Yes, yep, I guess. I mean, I don't.
Yeah, it's just, it's,
Over the years, he's been dumping back there for the 8 years that we've lived there.
Yeah.
So.
and it's been 2 years and the house is built, the garage is built, there is electricity in the house. So our hope was, okay, let's wrap this up so we all can live happily and.
Bake a pie and have a conversation.
Yeah, you say 2 years, but from what Andrew's showing us, it looks like it started in October of '21, or maybe a little before that, so.
One thing
October of 2021, they hadn't started the foundation yet. I think they started soon after that, but they left the foundation for a little while before, and just were working on sifting.
But that's in
molds,
April.
For
Yeah.
a while, throughout the spring, and then they started framing over the summer, and then that's where they're at now.
Yeah.
I know it's frustrating,
I
but
mean, I just, when you look at those slides, I mean, that doesn't look like the progress of daily work. And I mean, it's.
it is a big site. It is a big
It's-
site. He has a lot going on there.
Yeah,
One
it's
thing
huge.
reassuring is that I've seen this gentleman's property around town. He keeps nice property. He keeps it looking nice. So when this is done, the aggravation's over for you. You're gonna have a nice looking piece of property beside you, so. Again, I'm sure that
It's
doesn't.
not the
make you
eyesore
feel
that we're
bad.
worried
Yeah.
about. It's
I
the
understand, it's the construction.
the constant
Because we don't
noise.
see his property. We
Right.
just
You just hear and feel it, yeah.
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
So,
Actually, quick question there.
this is on, okay,
That's our
hold on. We're gonna get to the, when we ask the public, right now we're just hearing from the applicant. Okay? So you're done with your
Yes.
presentation? Do we have anything from the board? Any questions?
I have no more questions. at this
Andrew,
time.
okay, Andrew, you're all set?
Yeah,
Thank you.
I mean, the one thing I'll say is I've spoken with Mr. Calcagni, about this. He understands the situation, and he said every time he's talked to me, he said that, he tries to keep it down on the minimum. He doesn't do Sundays. He tries not to work after 6 at night. But he's also was like, hey, if I have an opportunity to work because I don't have something going on for my business, I'm going to work here on the weekends or after hours on the weekdays, take advantage of the summer hours. So, and I understood that, and I would echo what Brian said, and I think, he's a nice guy, he's willing to have a conversation. I think we could definitely have a conversation and work some things out, as far as how you go forward in the future. He at least seemed amenable to that when I spoke to him.
Thank you. So anything from the audience? Go ahead, name and address.
Bernie Dupuy, 6 Weathervane Lane. I'm just wondering, does Marshfield have any kind of restriction with regard to
Work hours?
noise or hours of operation?
We don't,
None at all?
no.
So it could happen Sunday, whatever.
Yep. That's correct, right, Andrew?
Yeah, there's.
Yeah, we don't have any.
There is a noise.
We do have the
environmental
noise.
standard, but it's gotta be like sustained, long.
Measurable
there's a-
decibels, it's,
Yeah,
decimals,
it's
just-
not this type of a
not.
noise situation. It's a different type of environmental standard, but, no, you can go by the Commonwealth's regulations
Right.
on, work hours and noise.
From the online audience,
Yeah, John Considine, 14 Sesbrag Drive. Just curious, is there a law, a rule, or what have you with respect to you keeping commercial equipment in a residential area? Like, let's just say hypothetically, Cal Cagney's done with this project and everything's built and everything's landscaped. Is he allowed to keep, caterpillars, excavators, skid steers? Is that something that can be kept on his property?
I'll let Andrew answer that.
Yeah, to a certain extent. There are limits to how many vehicles and trailers and different things you can have on your property, but you can keep that stuff. There is also provisions for, obviously, like if you look around town, lobstermen with, storing their lobster pots, obviously, that's something, the commercial thing that they store. So lots of landscapers, construction guys, plumbers will bring their commercial vehicles home, have trailers, that kind of equipment, that kind of stuff. It's normal. But at a certain point, if they have, if the numbers exceed what's allowed in the bylaw, then they have to build an accessory garage to store those things inside of it.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, nothing from the audience, the board. Bob, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds to me like we don't have a zoning issue here. It sounds like we have an air pollution issue. And there are state standards from the DEP on air pollution. And fugitive dust and noise can violate those standards. But that would be a Board of Health issue. And it sounds like if you have an issue, that's probably where your issue lies.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I'm going to close the hearing for Andrea Manning, 2295, 167 Planting Fields Road. Do I have a second?
Larry Keane, second.
All those in favor?
Larry Keane, aye.
Brian Sullivan, aye?
Brian Murphy, aye.
Mark Cohen, aye.
And what do we just affirm Andrew's finding? What?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, look at it, if there's a complaint about equipment, you'll take it up
Take
in
it
the
in the
ordinary
future.
course. I mean, there is a limit on that as well, so.
Right.
A person could bring their work vehicle home, but that doesn't mean they could bring all of their work vehicles.
Right.
Yeah, store the fleet there. And have your employees come
Yeah.
and drop their vehicles off and pick up the work truck and go from their house. You can't have that. Right? And I've gotten complaints about that with other places in town and told people, look, you can't have your employees park here in the morning. They can't park here and take the work truck. You gotta find some other place to pick them up or transfer them or something.
Yeah, that becomes a commercial or a contractor's storage yard, which is not allowed in this
Not allowed,
district
right.
at all.
So, all right, so I'm going to make a motion that the board affirm the building commissioner's decision for 167 Planting Fields Road. Do I have a second?
Larry Keane, second.
All those in favor?
Larry Keane, aye.
Brian Sullivan, aye?
Brian Murphy, aye.
Mark Cohen, aye.
Steve?
Steve Feeny, aye.
Thank you. All right, so we're on to 2296, James and Judith Oriola. The petitioners are seeking, are they here? No, I'm gonna read it in. James and Judith Oriole, the petitioners are seeking a variance in accordance with 305-1011 of the Marshfield Municipal Code to get relief from 305-602 and 305-610 to allow for 3 stories instead of the previous approved 2.5 stories, to resolve deficiencies resulting from the contractor not following flood zone related building codes and properties at 37 Constitution Road, which is further identified on the assessor's map as being parcel K112209 and is located in R3 zoning district. No one here?
I wait here, sorry.
Oh. Name and address for the record?
37 Constitution Road. And it's James and Judith Oriola, sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
Hi, we are gonna let Andrew handle this. This was, something that Andrew, had told us we have to do. We have no idea why we're doing this, but, we need a variance again for this property because it was built incorrectly as it's listed.
Okay.
I'll help.
All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judy. So, like I said in my notes, this property received a special permit. They demolished the old building. They built the new one. The new one it's going through 2 different flood zones that runs right through the garage. One requires floodproofing up to 4 feet. That's a AO3 zone. So everything in an AO3 zone up to 4 feet has to be used flood-resistant materials. And then that was, and then the other side was the AE9. So the building code requires that if a structure's in 2 flood zones, that the more restrictive flood zone requirements be handled. So that's why on this plan it showed the estimated FEMA line 4 feet up, because the first 4 feet all had to be used flood resistant materials. That means like no fiberglass insulation, all closed cell insulation. It's got to be exterior grade plywood on the outside. No sheetrock, no wood trim, plastic trim, no wood doors. It's got to be metal or fiberglass doors. And then you've got to have flood openings or engineered flood openings in the walls. So the builder built it to the lower standard and put a bathroom on the lowest floor, which you can only use the lowest floor for vehicle storage, parking, or storage of material, or vehicle parking, storage of materials, or building access. So there were a couple of issues there, a couple of violations that we identified at the end, because during the other aspect of it, they added the bathroom and stuff kind of afterwards, and it wasn't until I got the elevation certificate at the end that I identified that the mechanicals were down too low. So the options were either to get a letter of map amendment from FEMA to amend the flood zone so that they were considered in the AE9 flood zone and not the AO zone, or to get an appeal or to get a variance from the Building Code Appeals Board, because that's the only way to get. Those are the only 2 ways to get any variance from any floods hazard standard in Massachusetts. They're either a variance of the Building Code Appeals Board or a flood map change with FEMA. So they went to, on my recommendation, they went to the Building Code Appeals Board and filed for an appeal, and were granted a variance with the Building Code Appeals Board because James has a medical condition, and because of the cost and financial hardship that it would have put on them to really cut the bottom 4 feet out and change those materials out. So they were granted the variance with the Building Code Appeals Board. That puts the habitable space down on that first floor. That now makes it a full 3-story house instead of the first floor being above design flood elevation and being considered part of that that flood zone kind of exemption. So that's why they need now a variance from the zoning board, because now it becomes like a three-structure house. And it really is no fault of their own. And they really kind of have struggled through this whole situation. And they've been really gracious complying and with every aspect of the flood zone regulations here.
Thank you. Do we have any questions from the board on this?
Yeah, Andrew, this is already complete, correct? 100%
It
complete?
is, yeah, so they have a temporary certificate of occupancy.
Yep.
They've granted a variance from the Building Code Appeals Board. The final step before getting a full certificate of occupancy that'll satisfy their bank and everything else is getting the variance from the ZBA.
Now, Andrew, when they applied for a building permit, did their plans show this bathroom that was in this living space that was not supposed to be on the first floor? Did the plan show that?
No, it was shown as a storage closet. It was, the flood vents were designed to pass through that storage closet, because even partition walls within that first floor have to have flood openings so that everything passes through. So the contractor changed it after the installation inspection is when they kind of changed it and added the bathroom.
And after he got the building permit? This work was done without a permit.
They didn't know, and it was a violation. The contractor received a pretty, significant violation from me because he modified the plans in the field, didn't notify us. Those plans made the house non-compliant with the flood zone regulations, and basically was on the verge of keeping them out of their house completely.
Yeah, and absent us granting them the relief that they need now, they're up a tree. All because of their contractor, who frankly I think should be in front of us now explaining why he went rogue, rather than you having to do this work. And the homeowners appear to be innocent in all of this. Where's the contractor?
I think they fired him.
Yeah, I'm sure he was fired, with good reason.
Yeah.
And there, as you made clear too, Andrew, there is a medical condition with the homeowner, correct?
There is, yes.
So this-
It requires, and that was part of the reason for the variance, the major part of the reason for the variance for the building code appeals board.
And they got that through the building appeals boards, correct?
That's the state of Massachusetts. Building
Yep.
Code Appeals.
Yeah, I'm familiar, yep. So bottom line, this would be a substantial hardship to this family if they
Yeah,
weren't granted
they
this,
don't
correct?
give out variances in the flood zone very often for very many things.
Okay. Thank you.
Well, it sounds like they got their stuff lined up, so anything else from the board? Bob?
Andrew, was there any enforcement action taken against the builder by the state?
No, but they did recommend in the variance that either myself or the homeowner go for a CSL complaint against his license. And they wrote that in the variance.
Okay. Anything from the audience? Anything from the online audience? Nothing else from the board? Seeing that there's nothing, I'll make a motion that we close 2296 James and Judith Oriola, 37 Constitution Road, 2296. Do I have a second?
Larry Keane, second.
All those in favor?
Larry Keane, aye.
Ryan Sullivan, aye?
Brian Murphy, aye.
Mark Corwin, aye.
Steve Feeney, aye.
Thank you, Steve. So now I'm gonna make a motion that we, the board move to grant the petitioner's request for a dimensional variance subject to conditions. They already have everything in, and obviously the building permit, all that other stuff, I don't
Yeah,
have
you
to
got an
say that.
This is it.
Yeah, okay. To allow the petitioner to reconstruct the proposed residence as shown on the plans dated 10/5/20, based on a finding that the applicants have demonstrated that they meet all the requirements of section 10.11 of the bylaw. Can you throw it?
I think that you also ought to consider making sure that the record is clear that this was an extraordinary circumstance,
Okay,
where the board, considered the evidence to be compelling that the homeowner had no knowledge and was innocent in the circumstance, because otherwise you'll have a lot of people professing ignorance.
okay.
And then.
I'm gonna add what Bob said.
The 305-15.7, this is variances to building code floodplain standards, so this is pretty much just says that the town will get from the State Building Code Appeals Board, the written copy of that, but we already have it,
So we can-
so you know, they also comply with 15 and 17, the flood zone bylaw.
All right, good, and we can attach that to our decision.
Andrew, who issues the letter to the property owner regarding impacts to premiums on the flood insurance?
What people?
What is it that, I couldn't hear you, Bob.
If you go back to the standard set forth in the bylaw, you just had it up, about the variance.
Sorry.
Who issues that letter to the homeowner about potential impacts to annual premiums?
State.
Let's,
That comes from the state?
I'm the administrator of the floodplain bylaw, so I'd imagine any letter that's being ordered to be issued out of there would be me.
It's a mandatory requirement when you have the variance to floodplain standards, so I think that the board should request that,
Andrew,
Andrew Stewart direct the letter that's required under 1517 to the homeowner.
adding that to the decision.
All you have to do is cite those two standards, Andrew, in the letter,
Yep.
and then copy the board, I think satisfies that.
Nancy, you got all that in our decision? Good. All right, so do I have a second?
Larry Keane, second.
All those in favor?
Larry Keane, aye.
Brian Sullivan, aye.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Mark Corwin, aye.
Steve?
Sorry about that. Steve Feeney, aye.
And we obviously agreed with the variance standards, and we felt they met all of those. All right, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
So now we have 2297 Nancy Fleming. The petitioner is seeking a special permit in accordance with 305-1012 of the Marshfield Municipal Code to construct a 16 by 22 by 44 L-shaped addition and a 10-foot by 16-foot deck on the property located at 65 Hancock Street, which is further identified on the assessor's maps as being parcel M07-08-01 and is located in the R3 zoning district.
I'm Dick Rockwood. My company has done the design work for Nancy Fleming's project. It is a one-story house. It is non-conforming on the 7.4 right there. I don't have my 15-foot setback, which is the reason we're here. And then
That's
out,
the rear.
that's the rear. She's on Hancock Street, so,
Front lines on all three sides,
Yeah.
so that can only be the rear.
okay, so I don't have my 30-foot rear. Right, there you go. So the outline in red is the one-story addition, along with the proposed deck that we're doing. All those dimensional items comply, adhere to the zoning bylaws, so, and it is only a one-story addition, so that is the reason that we are here.
Andrew, other than what we have in your notes, do you have anything to add?
Nope.
Thank you. Bob, do you have anything?
I do not.
Anything from the board?
I have nothing.
I have nothing.
Okay, anything from the audience? Anything from the online audience? Seeing that there's none, I make a motion that we close 2297 Nancy Fleming, 65 Hancock Street. Do I have a second?
Larry Keane, second.
All those in favor?
Larry Keane, aye.
Brian Sullivan, aye.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Mark Corwin, aye.
Steve Feeney, aye.
All right, so I'm gonna make a motion that the board Vote to grant the petitioner's request for a special permit, subject to the conditions. The project will require a building permit, certified final as-built site plan, and certificate of occupancy. And the permit alteration extension of non-conforming use allowing the construction of an addition and new deck as shown on site plan dated September 13, 2022, and design plans dated September 12, 2022, based on a finding that the applicant has demonstrated that she meets all the requirements in section 1012 of the bylaw. Thank you, Andrew. Does everyone agree that these meets all those standards?
I do.
I do.
I do. Steve, I do. So,
I do, Brian.
thank you. And so, all those in favor?
Larry Keane, aye.
Brian Sullivan, aye.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Mark Cole and I.
Steve Feeny, aye.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Are you here for the next one too? Or,
The one after.
oh, good, so you get to
you wanna
hang
jump
around.
ship?
Ah, we'll keep you right. I'm gonna keep you here all night, torture you. We gotta sit here. I don't wanna take anyone out of order.
You guys been good to me.
So we have 2298 Diane Snellgrove. The petitioner is seeking a special permit in accordance with 305-1012 of the Marshfield Municipal Code to construct an L-shaped second-story addition over the existing first floor, and will be 4'6" by 27'8" on the side and 19 by 10'1" in the rear, on the property located at 197 Ocean Street, which is further identified on the assessor's maps as being on parcel N070808 and is located in the R3 zoning district. Name and address for the record.
Name's John Rockwood, address 13 Higgins Road in Kingston, Massachusetts.
Go ahead.
That dick, but I have to now.
Yeah.
So we're just looking to go out over the existing first floor, not expand the footprint at all of the home, just add a second bedroom or third bedroom to the second floor and a master bathroom within the master as is. So if you go to the original pictures, you kind of get a good grasp of the first floor just bumps out about 4 feet from the house. So we're just looking to go up and over the existing floor plan.
So is that it?
That's pretty much it. It's there's no foundation work or anything like that.
Andrew-
This isn't the correct.
What's that?
This is the wrong plan.
Oh, Andrew, this is the wrong plan that we're looking at?
This is for 197.
Oh.
This is not the right plan.
That's the correct one. That one makes sense.
I'll have to go through the email, because that's what was saved here.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's all right. We're fully aware.
So I have the printout. You guys want to see the pictures?
Get the pictures in. You have the plan?
Yeah.
Just give him a minute, see if you can.
Sure.
I mean, we have whatever was in the file.
But yeah, that's the existing house right there. That's
Yeah, we
the
have
right
it in
as
our-
built.
We have,
Nancy, would it anywhere else other than,
this is what we're
No, I
looking.
thought there were three
Right.
rolls of things that we,
that it?
voted today.
No, it's the wrong plan.
This is 197 Ocean Street.
It does?
that's all I have.
That's what we have.
This is 197.
This is the correct plan. This is more what he had up there.
It should be,
They have 2 pages?
put it up there again, Andrew. It looks like
Yes,
that
this.
is the right plan.
That's
So is
That's
that
the
the right
correct
plan then?
Okay.
Roll that up so we can look at the writing on there, Andrew.
I don't think it's right. It says 36 Saginaw Avenue.
Yeah, that's the wrong plan.
Maureen Hurricane Residence.
All right, well, we have the plan in front of us.
This is the right one.
Yeah, we have the right plan.
Interesting.
So, and obviously, we have the right site plan.
That's the right site plan, correct.
That's,
So,
That's correct.
yeah, that's
That's
the,
a-
so that addition right there, that's the existing first floor on the left-hand side.
that's the mainly
And that's
important.
the exact L shape that we're doing. We're just
Right.
going over the first floor and up.
Yeah, and that matches with what we have. All right, so anything else, Andrew? Nope.
I just, when I wrote my comments. as
Yep,
far as
we
getting
have
it
that.
passed, no, because
Yes.
we don't really have one.
I'll put those in in the conditions. Bob, do you have anything to add?
No, I mean, if you look at that plan, I noticed that there was a shed drawn in there.
We will
and there's
not,
some other measurements, so.
yeah, we will not endorse the shed, so.
It's already there.
Yeah, but we don't care, we don't, just don't
Okay.
endorse the fact that
I
it's there.
mean, if the shed is within the last 10 years, though, that's a problem.
No. Not that I'm aware of, but it looks very
We
old.
won't be endorsing the shed.
Because it looks like it's sketched in on this plan, so.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Anything from the audience? The online audience? All right, I'm gonna make a motion that we close 197 Ocean Street. 2298 Diane Snellgrove. Do I have a second?
Larry Keane, second.
All those in favor?
Larry Keane, aye.
Brian Sullivan, aye.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Oh, aye.
Steve Feeny, aye.
So making sure that I have the right date on this thing. Andrew, do we have a date on that plan up there?
That
Yeah,
as
it's,
built.
May 18th, 1994.
Okay. Just wanna adjust my language here. So, plan dated,
This plan, Brian, a new one?
no, I have that one, I just wanna change the dates on here. They're not right. All right, so I move that the board vote to grant the petitioner's request for a special permit, subject to conditions. Project, oh, they already have their floodplain stuff. So I would, certified, as-built, capture all the changes that have been made since 1994, when last plan was submitted to the town, building permit and certificate of occupancy.
Make sure that the plan references and the plan dates are on.
I'm gonna,
are correct.
yeah, I'm heading down to those next. Those are the conditions to the permanent alteration or extension of non-conforming use and allowing the construction of an addition and new deck as shown on site plan dated currently 5/18/94 and a design plan dated 6/2/2022. Based on the finding that applicant has demonstrated that they meet the requirements, section 1012 of the bylaw. And we agree with that this meets the 10 items up there. Yes,
The 6/2/22?
yeah.
That's the existing home. The actual plans are dated 8/30/22.
Okay, so adjusting that, Nancy, to 8/30/2022.
I don't know if that was important.
We have the ones from 6/2/22. Did you change them?
No.
No.
No, that's the existing conditions of the house.
All right.
And then the second set of plans, the new construction drawings are dated 8/30 because there wasn't anything.
Oh, I see.
See what I'm saying? Yes.
All right, so did you get that, Nancy, my change? Do I have a second?
Larry Keane, second.
All those in favor?
Larry Keane, aye.
Brian Sullivan, aye.
Ryan Murphy, aye.
Mark Cohen, aye.
Steve Feeny, aye.
Do that, Nancy? Oh, thank you. Thank God for the hard copies.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Disaster. So Nancy, I already did, well, sorry, wait a minute. Are you Ryan and Danielle Gardner? All right, come on up. 2299 Ryan and Danielle Gardner. The petitioners are seeking a special permit in accordance with 305-1012, 305-1302, Marshfield Municipal Code, and a variance of accordance with 305-11 for relief from 305-608, 5C, to construct a 24-foot by 26-foot two-car garage and 24-foot by 26-foot master bedroom above the 10-foot by 13-foot mudroom on the property located at 45 Hatch Street, which is further identified on assessors maps as being on parcel G08522 and is located in R2 zoning district.
I'm Dick Rockwood. I'm here to represent the Gardners for their project. If you look at this, where it says Hatch Street, that is the frontage of the lot. So it's a, I forget what the square footage is, it's on the site plan here, but, so it's kind of awkward, it's behind the school,
I saw it.
right? And the house conforms to the existing dimensions. Where did it go? Yeah, there it is, 45 there. So where it says Hatch Street, I'm looking at it as those are that's the front of the lot, which should normally be on an R2 zone, 100 feet or 100. So it's a non-conforming lot in that respect.
But everything else conforms?
Yeah, and it's difficult because you can see from that 200-foot mark there, everything drops downhill to the river.
Right.
So you can't build there, it just drops down. And there's a pool already on the premises in the back. So they wanted the two-car garage, it's a good-sized lot. So we came up with this footprint for the lot. I will meet the 15-foot setback, which is the R2 zone, on that left side of the garage as you pull in there. And we had to be far enough away from the pool based on some trees and things that are there. And that's pretty much the footprint that we came up with. So instead of being so if that's the front, then on the right side where it says 38.7, I'm looking at that as a sideline, as well as the left sideline where by the existing garage. So the problem I'm having is the corner, that sharp corner in that odd shape. So I'm only 26.6 and I'm not a 40 feet from my front. But the lot is not the typical lot to work with, so that's why I'm requesting the variance. Pardon me?
It's a very unique lot.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's unique, so.
What's the alleged substantial hardship? The lack of a two-car garage?
The alleged substantial hardship?
Absent the granting of variance, a substantial hardship would occur. What's the substantial hardship?
I'm looking at it as the shape of the lot is our
That's one of the
substantial
standards.
hardship.
There are
Right.
other standards.
Right. They need the expanded space for the family. So they needed the bedroom up above, and it made sense to put it over the garage. They've been there for, I forget how many years, but.
Been there for almost 10 years, sorry.
There you are.
Sorry, I've been there for almost 10 years, have 2 kids, 4 and a 2-year-old. 2 boys, possibly looking at 3. Love the house, love the town, love the neighborhood. Want to stay there for a very long time. Need the space for the toys, that single car garage that exists today. Can't fit a car in it, and never mind lawn equipment, toys, everything. So looking for the 2-car garage, and then, like you said, the additional bedroom. Right now, we also share a driveway with our neighbor, which is awkward at times.
That would eliminate that?
Yes.
It would clearly be financially more advantage to staying right there and doing this addition than relocating.
100%.
Yeah. And getting the kids out of the weather into a car would be a benefit. Hardship not having that.
Right.
Anything else from the board?
No, I think this lot is very unique the way you have it, that type of frontage, sharing a driveway is absolutely a hardship to me. I wouldn't move to Marshfield and have to share a driveway with my neighbor, so. I get it, this is very unique.
Anything from the audience? Anything from the online audience? Do you have anything else, Andrew, or?
No.
Bob?
No, the hardship has to be connected to the unique conditions.
Okay.
And I don't have any doubt that it's desirable, but, I think the board has to evaluate whether this meets the requirements for a variance. This is not like the other circumstances you had tonight where someone had to elevate the house in order to comply with the law. This is something that's being done on a voluntary basis as opposed to in order to comply with another provision of a bylaw that requires things to be done.
Yeah, to me though, we have a resident that has two with a third on the way, so
But
he's in a situation where he needs the expansion of his property, and in today's day and age with housing prices, this is far better an option for him. He's already said how much he likes the community and wants to stay. So I see that, again, this lot is extremely unique to me. You're gonna make I don't see it.
The issue is the hardship has to be connected to the need for the variance here. So
Not the applicant.
Well, I understand that, but what would be his options to expand his property and not be in violation somewhere else?
I don't know. I mean,
I don't
maybe you could
Well, yeah.
go back. I mean, there's a lot of houses in town, and, this is up to the board to decide. It's not up to me to decide, but,
Yeah.
there's a lot of properties in town where the lot isn't big enough to have more things, and that's part and parcel of why a house is valued the way it is and things like that. So,
Mhm.
It's just need to be clear to the board that, there's supposed to be a nexus between the unique circumstances relating to the shape of the lot and the need for the variance. And you need to be cognizant that it's not a personal hardship to an applicant that qualifies for a variance.
Yeah, with all that said, though, this lot is very unique to me, and I can't see him having any other options there.
If I may, so if we were to build towards the river, I mean, that's a hardship just because of the cost of trying to build downhill, and it negates any garage or
My
the
septic's in that hill.
functionality, and it's just the way the whole house sets.
Talk to that, Mom.
The way the house
My
sets up.
septic's
so.
in that hill as well.
I get
Oh,
it.
that's right, the septic's right there too. Right in the
Everywhere you
back.
go, everywhere you go, there you
I actually went out to the property. I see the position you're stuck in.
It's a shared driveway, you said?
Yeah.
Is there an easement attached to it, or?
No.
No? So it's a defined boundary there.
There's no divider, it's the
Was
same
there-
driveway.
You
Was
can
there
actually
ever
see
any
it on the
consideration
pictures.
given to expanding the existing garage and not connecting it to the house? Because that's the reason you need a variance. Was there any,
Well, then I wouldn't be able to have the bedrooms added on, because it'd have to be 10 feet from that, and the garage is kind of useless anyways, but,
The only reason I mention is because the existing garage is already closer
Non-conforming, right.
than,
You can't physically, well, I guess, getting into that and turning around and back, and it's not usable.
Bob, I had trouble determining if this even required a variance or if it could be done with a special permit, because,
I agree.
Right.
you've got this weird, you don't really have a defined front line, right? And if
no,
this is the
it has,
front line,
it has a front line because it's around, it's the 2031 and the 1417. It's where it touches its frontage. That's the front line combined. It's like being around a circle.
So what's making
Got
it,
like 35 feet of
point
frontage.
can go 40, they'd have to be 40 feet from this point to this point?
No, you can use that dimension. You can use that angle that it is at, and you're supposed to be 40 feet back. But what triggers the requirement of a variance here is that it's connected and it becomes part of the principal structure.
it's when you connect the two, but,
But he's gonna demolish and
no, I understand what you're saying, Andrew. I struggle with the fact that the existing garage, I thought you could connect to that, and that's part of a pre-existing non-conforming structure.
No, he wouldn't be able to connect it. He could expand the existing garage, as long as it remained at least 10 feet away. There's possible some utility room over the garage, but probably not another bedroom.
So the garage, because it's 26 feet back, it complies
Yeah, that's
currently in the
okay.
15-foot 6 setback. It complies. I thought it had to be, oh, that's right, 10.
No,
Yep.
you should be
and
okay
10
with that.
10 feet, yeah. Well, I just look at it as that space is already occupied. I don't have a problem with attaching it to myself, but I know it needs a variance. So, anything else from anybody? All right.
I just think, again, this is a very unique lot, very unique situation. I think it meets the requirements. I don't have an issue.
All right, so I'm gonna make a motion that we close the one I don't have the number for.
$22.99.
2299, Ryan and Danielle Gardner, 45 Hatch Street. Do I have a second?
Larry Keane, second.
All those in favor?
Larry Keane, aye.
Brian Sullivan, aye?
Ryan Murphy, aye. Beans?
Aye.
All right, I'm gonna move in the positive, so I'm gonna move that the board vote to grant the petitioner's application for a variance from the dimensional bylaw requirements, subject to conditions based on a finding the applicants have demonstrated that it meets all the requirements in section 10.11 of the bylaw. Do I have a second?
Larry Keane, second.
So we'd have to agree to, obviously, the variance standards up there. And, Andrew, do I need any conditions? I think you had some in here. Crap. Oh, that's the wrong date. Just don't want the other one on there. That's all right, I can read these ones. All right, the project will require building permit, certified final as-built site plan, and certificate of occupancy. Do I have a second?
Larry Keane, second.
All those in favor?
Larry Keane, aye.
I'm a no.
Okay, Brian Murphy, aye.
Mark Corwin, aye.
Steven?
I'm a no, I'm in agreement with Attorney Galvin, Town Council.
Okay. So 3-2. Thank you.
That was 3-2 negative?
Doesn't make it. Needs 4-1.
Okay.
Super majority.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Right, so Nancy, do you mind if we do Mr. Marathis? You have to go down and do the exchange. Andrew, is it okay? We're gonna do 50 Ocean Street, and Nancy can go down, and then we'll regroup. Thank you. Okay.
If 5 minutes.
Five,
or-
yeah, 5-minute break. Second,
Larry Keane, second.
all those in favor?
Larry Keane, aye.
Brian Sullivan, aye.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Steve Feeney, aye.
Thank you. Oh, sorry. I gotta watch for the unmuting of that button. Are you ready, Nats?
I'm ready.
All right, so, I'm gonna say we come back into session. Do I have a second?
Larry Keane, second.
All those in favor?
Larry Keane, aye.
Brian Sullivan, aye.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Mark Wall, aye.
Fiends?
Feeney, aye.
Thank you. All right, so we're gonna hear from, I don't have to reread this into the record. James Marathis, 50 Ocean Street.
Thank you. So, as you know, I was here previously, and I'm requesting a variance for the purpose of putting a new roof on my garage and then not connecting the two, adding a walkway from the garage to the house. I did some research, and I purchased the home in 2017, and as part of a FEMA project, the house was elevated. And the house was elevated from 2019 and receiving an occupancy permit in 2020 to reoccupy the structure. Prior to that, the house was built in 1900, and in 1950, there was a wraparound porch added to the house and a breezeway which connected the garage to the house. So the breezeway existed since 1950, so for 73 years prior to elevating the house, the breezeway, 16 feet by 10 feet, was the connecting structure between the garage and the house. When we elevated the house, we had to take down the breezeway in order to elevate the house. During the process of elevating the house, a couple of things happened. One, while we were under construction elevating the house, the FEMA maps changed. So the project, to meet the FEMA requirements, we had to elevate the house 3 feet above the base flood elevation. That was part of the project. We had to go 3 feet above base flood elevation. We did that, and then the base flood elevation lowered 3 feet while we were under construction. So in fact, the structure right now is 6 feet above base flood elevation. The desire is to be able to walk from the garage into the house, which existed on this property for 73 years, and we would like to put that connector back. In doing so, we've been working with Mr. Vogel, the building inspector, and in order to comply with FEMA standards, we would have to create a 1-inch separation between the connector and the house itself. That's not desirable to me, it's not what I would prefer, but it's what is required in order for the structure to be compliant with FEMA. We also have to add 6 8-inch by 16-inch flood vents in the garage to make the garage itself, the first floor, comply with the FEMA standards. The garage is a 24 by 24 foot structure. It currently has stairs in it, and it currently has a second floor. So the impact to the neighborhood would be none, obviously, because this already was there for 73 years up until 2 years ago. And the only reason that we would need the relief is for the distance of the accessory structure from the house, and that is because we have to create that 1-inch of separation, and that's a FEMA requirement. So you did ask for an opinion from the building commissioner, and I believe you have a copy of his opinion.
Nancy, you sent that to us, right?
I haven't seen anything recently from before.
He sent this to everybody on October 6th at 4:28 p.m.
I saw it. That's
Yes.
the one that I responded
Yes.
to, right?
Yep.
I saw it.
Just don't think, I don't know if
That was from
Nancy got
Andrew?
it.
This was from Robert Vogel.
Right.
And just to read it into the record, it says, "To all, I have reviewed the plans for the garage renovation, expansion, and the connecting bridge at James Marathis Residence, 50 Ocean Street, Marshfield, designed by David Tonis, architect, noted, revised October 2nd, 2022. The plans depict the bridge supported independently of the house with an air gap of 1 inch between the bridge and the house. They also show a total of 6 8-inch by 16-inch flood vents serving the garage, noted as 1 inch above grade. Vents are to be engineered smart vents model 1540-520, related to serve 200 square feet of floor area. The garage area is noted as 543 square feet, so the venting is sufficient as shown. Other conditions set forth in my email below appear to be met. In conclusion, I judge this design complies with the pertinent regulations of FEMA and the Massachusetts State Building Code 9th edition. Robert Vogel, Building Commissioner, Enforcement Agent.
Nancy, I sent it to you on October 7th at, is that the one you have?
I don't have it. I don't have my email here, so.
Oh, all right.
I have it.
What time was it after I left?
Bob has it.
4:28 PM.
I sent it to you on October 7th, yeah, at 12:07, so you probably had already
For
left.
some reason, I didn't see it when I came in today. That was after I had left.
All right.
I'll make sure it gets included in the file.
Well, Bob has it and I have it, and he read it into the record.
So,
Mr. Marathis, would you agree that the garage is not going to be connected to the house?
yes,
And then would you also agree that the garage is an accessory structure?
yes,
And would you not agree that the accessory structure has to be at least 10 feet from the principal structure?
without a variance, which is what I'm here to request.
Okay. Well, I don't see that you meet you meet the standard for the granting of a variance, and it's not even close, in my opinion. And I haven't seen any evidence submitted since our last meeting to show that you do meet that standard.
Well, I believe my testimony that the structure existed there for 73 years, and we only had to remove that connector is only for the sole purpose of elevating the property, in which we had no option but to remove the structure, and we're looking to put it back there.
So as you apply for a variance in front of this board now, you've lost that pre-existing non-conforming status of that breezeway that was attached in 1950. So it's as though it never existed.
Why would I lose that when
Because it doesn't exist.
we only completed the structure in 2020? So with
the-
COVID, why would we lose that existing condition?
Because it was torn down,
Yes,
and you lost it once it was destroyed, or once you removed it. So now you don't have that. You're not grandfathered because it doesn't exist. So that's why you need this variance. And again, you don't meet the standard for the granting of a variance. And again, in my mind, it's not even close. The
I
Hatch Street
disagree.
property, you were here for that, of course. The Hatch Street property was arguably a closer call, but this one is not even close.
well, the structure only needed to be removed because of the requirement to raise the house according to the FEMA regulations. So it wasn't as if we tore it down because we wanted to. We tore it down because we had to.
The reasons now are academic.
How long before you lose that existing, it was there for 73 years, we only finished
could've
the
been there
house
for 173
less than 2 years ago. So why
It's
would?
gone. It doesn't exist.
So Bob, he doesn't have any rights under the tolling period and the
No.
pre-existing, okay.
No, the bylaw contains a provision that a building that comes into compliance can't be made to be non-compliant again.
But again, this to me is another unique situation. The house has been there forever. We're all very familiar with this area.
Does Andrew have the plans?
The gentleman started
Oh,
going
no,
through
Andrew's
this
not involved in
renovation,
this, so.
and in order to raise the structure, this breezeway wasn't affordable to go up in the air at the same time. So you move the structure up. The map changes at the time, so now you're exceeding the code. You're better than the code requires. And through this project, through COVID and everything else, he's had delays. Now he's here to kind of reinstall what he already had that was taken out to do this construction.
But that's not what he's doing.
That's exactly what he's doing.
He's building this,
He's got
this
pictures
living
of it there
space
with-
over the garage.
Yeah.
And then he's going to connect the living space over the garage to the living space in the house. So
that he
he's
had
extending,
before.
he's
That
extending
he had
the-
before. It's not like he's just recreating this. It was
The
there.
difference is, the difference in this one is, assuming that what he said is accurate, and I have no reason to disbelieve him.
I have none. He has photos and everything else there of this.
Okay, but the reality is, what you do to make sure that you protect yourself as you come in before you take things down. Like, if I have a house on a lot that's non-conforming, I take that down and I don't have
You
advanced.
go through the whole permitting process to get it all done before you remove anything. Correct.
Exactly.
I
'Cause
get
once
that.
you take it down, okay, you're obligated to comply with the zoning bylaw.
I get that. I know what you're saying, but in the process of what he was doing, it appears to me that numerous things through the building code have changed in this gentleman. And it's not like he's, again, trying to create something that wasn't there. It was, and it's a breezeway. It's not like you're taking a house and tearing a house down. It's a breezeway that was between the two. He had photos that we saw earlier, one of the meetings. He had furniture out there. He had a Nautilus machine out there. What he was doing, it was usable space. And now, if you're up there, he's up on a wind tunnel in Brent Rock that the wind's blowing across. I could see him wanting to get from his house to his garage. And again, it was there. It was removed during the construction process. If he missed a time frame here and there, I don't think the punishment to him is valid.
The house is actually almost 13 feet in the air, and it's
a tower.
it's
I've been there.
virtually
I went
it's
down and looked
virtually
at your house. I've
impossible
been to this
to
property.
enter the
I've been.
house holding a storm door open with anything in your hands. Let alone we have a 9-month-old, and trying to get into the house with a baby in a car seat and trying to hold the door open when the winds are blowing. It's virtually impossible. It really is. It's more important for egress than it is for anything. And it's a very difficult situation. And when we took down the breezeway, I actually met with the conservation agent and the building inspector and expressed my desire to rebuild it after the house was raised, and they said that I would have to come back in again in order to build it. So I don't know, I wasn't advised to come in and ask for that relief before we took it down, but we didn't take it down. I didn't take it down without a fight, and I fought to try to keep it.
If you don't mind me asking, what do you do for a living?
I'm in housing.
You're in housing. So, I mean, this to me, people are dealing with situations that they don't deal with on a daily basis, building a house, constructing a house, doing additions. And, something gets missed or something gets overlooked and this breezeway gets removed. I don't think it's fair and just at all to penalize a homeowner like that. I mean, should he have known? Maybe. I don't know. I don't think so. I could see myself making that mistake, and I can see anybody in this board making that mistake, and I don't think it's fair to penalize them for it.
Anything else from the board? Steve?
Sorry about that. No, I can just say that I'm in agreement with Mr. Sullivan, the board, and town council.
Thank you. Would you want to, Nancy, how much time do we have left on this?
I have to go back and check.
All right. But I'm assuming we'd need an extension from James if we continue on.
I believe so, yes.
Well, before we do that, do we have anything from the audience? Any neighbors here don't like this, don't want this, have any problems with this?
Online audience, I don't believe so. Well, the problem is we don't have the engineer plan.
Yep. That was discussed a few minutes ago, and you're going to provide that,
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
So is the board comfortable voting on this without the engineered plan?
I'm sorry?
The board comfortable voting without the engineered plan?
No, you said you're going to bring him in, right?
Yes.
So do we have time to wait for the plan?
Well, he'd have to, would you want to extend this meeting, seeing the way what's going on? Are you comfortable with?
Sure.
You'd have to sign an extension with Nancy.
Yeah, I don't have
to
any
continue.
problem
All right,
granting
Nancy,
extension.
James is willing to sign an extension so we can get the engineered plan for the site. But Bernie, you had something to say?
I don't know. I have no interest in this whatsoever, but I'm hearing the board, and it seems like I'm hearing from Mr. Keene some compassion here. And I'm wondering, does showing compassion for what seems to be something that most people would agree is an acceptable thing against the law? I don't know. It strikes me
Well,
as
we have to
strange.
meet standards of a variance, so I
Is
understand.
showing compassion against the law? Absolutely not.
I would hope
Showing
not.
compassion is a good thing to do.
I would hope so.
And anyone that shows compassion is a good person. But the law is the law. The law exists separate from
The
granting
law is very
compassion.
vague here. It's very vague.
I-
And
I
again,
think-
this gentleman had it. It wasn't like he's just pulling it out of his pocket. He had it. It was
I
in
understand
existence.
that. I
For
don't-
75 years it was in existence, plus.
And it lost that status when it was torn down.
No, it shouldn't have. And especially when
But it
when you're
did.
dealing with
That's the law.
when you're dealing with all of the delays that went on with the COVID we've gone through, the delays in construction, get an electrician to come to your house and do some work. It's gonna take you months. So you wonder why this project started and it's been taking this long?
I don't.
Would it have been better if he took it down and he had it back up in 90 days? Would that have made you happy? It probably would have. Well, he wasn't able to comply with that. I'm not willing to penalize him for that. That's my opinion. You clearly have yours.
I disagree. I think
We just
applying the law
we
is
just got
not...
walked all over by a 40B project, got a million variances. You want to cut this guy off?
Bob, on the, so he doesn't fall under this because even though he took it down with a building permit, he didn't
He
reapply.
voluntarily took that
Right.
down.
But he doesn't get the 2 years plus the tolling period because he volunteered.
I think it would be more he necessarily took it down due to the construction of this. The
No,
house had to go up
The way to
to
do it would
13
be to
feet.
come in for permits in advance. Where there's a floodplain issue here, and FEMA has weighed in, and so there's issues there too.
Well, I think
so
FEMA
James, if
has
you're
weighed
willing to
in.
continue this, I think we can get the letter from Vogel. Everyone can read that. You've already, like you said, it's already done, you've already paid for it, we might as well have the engineering plan.
Yep.
So we can look at that. And then, if you're willing to continue another meeting, I know you've been here.
I just,
promise we'll get you
to
on
set the
first at the
record
next
straight,
one.
I did not take this down voluntarily. I fought at the time with conservation, with the building inspector.
you did it.
And I was advised that I could put it back again after the fact that I took it down, but it would have to be elevated. So
Right.
when I hear that I did this voluntarily, and I didn't do this voluntarily.
Do you have that in writing anywhere?
I was going through my emails and I was going through all of my files trying to find it because I have so many emails on this project. My folder's about this big.
I hope you can find it.
I did speak to the conservation agent, and there are emails where I reluctantly did not want to take this structure down.
Right, I think what we need is, I've seen it, but I would
Yep.
say it didn't get, for whatever reason, Nancy didn't receive what I sent her. But that information from Building Inspector Vogel, and also I think it would help with the plan to show, I think hopefully if you can show on that, what they're looking for you to elevate the garage to in order to attach the two structures. Doesn't it make it unusable as a garage?
Right.
So but I think if you can show that's another hardship.
Right.
If you can show that on the plan, hopefully that can give us
Yeah,
something.
I do have the survey.
You already have it all done, so.
I do have the original survey. This is the original survey of the structure, and it shows that the house was always connected to the garage, and this goes back 73 years.
Well, Brian must have it on his plan.
Yep.
anyway. So if hopefully you can give us the original so that we can get the engineered plan that shows before you took it down. And then when it's down and then going back up, and you probably should show on there the elevation of that garage, making it worthless if you elevate it to connect the two.
Right.
I think if you can bring that information in and show it to us, it helps. We got a cloudy picture here right now. With that evidence, we hopefully can clarify I know what you're trying to,
Yep. In the separation, creating a detached structure.
I understand.
It's only for the purpose
1
of
inch, it's a
complying
sliver,
with
it's
FEMA.
anything with daylight. I
But that's to
understand.
comply with FEMA.
I know.
That's.
It's so that if
there
the-
is no other option.
I understand.
I can't
So
connect the
The
structure.
garage washes away, it would take the structure with it.
Correct.
And it wouldn't hurt the house.
So I would prefer the structure to be
Be
connected.
attached, I
I
understand.
can't have it connected, because if I do, then I'm outside of compliance with FEMA.
But I think if we, obviously, I'll forward that again to Nancy, and hopefully Bob can too, but if you give us that and the engineered plan, and maybe you could show on the elevation it would have to sit at, meaning the garage floor, in order to connect that to the house.
Right, the garage
You know
floor
where
would
to
have
get
to be
in there.
12 feet in the air.
Correct, and you only have 10, you could never get up there.
Correct.
So, I mean, I just think these are things you can show, so that brings in another hardship, showing why you're doing what you're doing.
Okay.
All right? So, Nancy, James has agreed to an extension of time,
Right.
what we need, correct?
Yes.
All right. So we're gonna continue this meeting to, we'll just continue it to the next one we have.
Okay.
Yep, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Where would you like for me to sign the extension?
Nancy, can he come, you wanna do that now, or can he come in tomorrow?
I can email it to him,
That's
Email
fine.
it to you. Thank you.
Appreciate
if that's all right with him.
Yeah, that's okay, right, Bill?
Did you want to make a move to continue this, Brian?
I did, sorry.
Oh.
All right, so now we have to do the curly shuffle again. So we'll take another 5-minute break. Second?
I don't need 5.
Well, whatever it takes.
Larry King, second.
All those in favor? Yeah, oh, sorry.
Second, rather, aye.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Not going.
Close enough. This is from the old meetings, right?
Yeah, but they were supposed to change the structure.
Oh,
I don't know if you want me to say this way.
Nancy, did we get a new set of plans on this, or
Or, it should be in the packet.
our packet, all right? Andrew has them, right?
Should be.
Yeah.
Hi, Andrew.
Hello.
You got them? Yeah, Andrew's got them. I saw them already, I looked at, I don't know whether, I just remember looking at that box.
Yeah, it was that driveway side. Last time.
All right, I don't have to read this in, you can, reopen the meeting, second.
Larry King, second.
All those in favor?
Larry King, aye.
Brian Sullivan, aye.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Not going,
Steve Feeny, aye.
Okay, go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jeff Metcalf, and I have with me Beth Mahoney. She's the owner of the property. I think we were here a couple of weeks ago in September, and the project is just to kind of go over just quickly what we're looking to do. There's an existing single-story house that's there, and we're here to request a special permit because of the setbacks. The existing house on the north side is 10 feet. The front is 9.6, and from the south side, I'm sorry, is 15.5 feet. Our previous proposal had the dwelling in the center of the property, so we ended up with setbacks left and right, north and south, at about 8 feet. So After some discussion, and this being a special permit, we were told that on the north side, we could go as close as 5 feet to the property line because the property adjacent is unbuildable. But it was requested that we try to keep the 15 feet on the south side because there's another dwelling there. So, so based on the suggestions and the conversation that we had, what we've done is we've moved the dwelling to the left slightly on the site, and we reduced the width of the dwelling as well, so that on the north side, we have a setback of 5.1 feet, and on the right side, we have a setback of 15 feet, and we keep the 10-foot setback from the front. So this again was the conversation toward the end of the last meeting, so we've made the revisions to the house accordingly.
So there are no new encroachments, is that correct?
There is no new encroachments.
There's an intensification of the existing encroachments.
That's what you asked us to do with,
Yeah.
for a special permit.
Yeah, yes,
That's correct.
yes.
Thank you.
Now, there is an area on the south that projects into the setback, but based on the bylaw, you can project into the setback 2 feet as long as the length of it is less than 50% of the length of the structure. And again, we reduce the width of the dwelling as well.
That was pretty much your recommendation last time, Brian, correct? Murphy?
Yeah, I think so. Andrew had the
Yeah,
same.
that was a little bit over everything that was discussed at the last meeting. This is what we came up with.
Thank you for incorporating our suggestions.
You're welcome.
All right, so Andrew, you're all set. Bob, you have anything?
No.
Anything from the audience? Anything from the online audience? All right, seeing that there's not, I make a motion that we close 2283 Beth Mahoney, 26 Island Street. Do I have a second?
Larry Keane, second.
All those in favor?
Larry Keane, aye.
Brian Sullivan, aye?
Brian Murphy, aye.
Mark Corwin, aye.
Steve Haney, aye.
So I don't think we have anything much to discuss here, right?
You good?
Yeah. Well,
Can I clap? Yeah.
we're about to get to that. So we're just getting relief from there.
Now, we also had a,
Well, I closed the meeting, but what, do you have anything, do I have to reopen it?
no, nope, I'm all set.
So this is just a straight special permit, right?
Yeah, and I think they meet the standards, the 10 standards
Yep.
enumerated in the bylaw.
Andrew, can you put that up there, the, our 10 special permit items? As I flounder through here. Thank you. So I'm gonna move that the board vote to grant the petitioner's request for a special permit, subject to the conditions that we get a building permit, full elevation certificate. Do we need the non-conversion agreement, Andrew?
We do.
Non-conversion agreement, certified as-built site plan, and a certificate of occupancy.
All the good documents.
Yep. To permit the alteration or extension of a non-conforming use, allowing the construction of the new home. Do you have the date on your plan?
The site plan's August 17th.
Site plan dated August 17th, 2022.
And the architectural plans, 20 September 2022.
And architectural plans dated 20 September 2022. Based on a finding, the applicant has demonstrated that they meet all the requirements of section 1012 of the bylaw, and we all agreed with the numbers up there. You got everything, Nance?
I do.
All right. Do I have a second?
Larry Keane, second.
All those in favor?
Larry Keane, aye.
Brian Sullivan, aye.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Okay, that would help.
Feeny, aye.
Mark Corwin, aye.
Thank you.
What about the variance?
Oh, shoot. Yep. Almost forgot. And now my motion for the variance. I just had it in front of me.
Can't you just,
Well, I'm going to move that the board vote.
I just move?
What's that? Oh, yeah, we don't need it.
Yeah, but you second.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so I'm going to move that the board deny the variance as moot, or,
Don't we just withdraw it?
Bob, what do I have to do? I have to call it moot, right?
Deny is moot.
Deny is moot. It doesn't hurt anything.
We withdraw it.
Deny the variance as moot. Do I have a second?
Larry Keane, second.
All those in favor?
Larry Keane, aye.
Brian Sullivan, aye.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Mark Corwin, aye.
Steve?
Steve Feeny, aye.
It doesn't hurt. Thank you.
Okay, thank you
Now
very
we're
much.
good?
You're all set.
All right, thanks, guys.
Good luck with your new home.
14
Thanks.
days till the written decision, and then 20 days for the,
What?
well, you have to wait 14 days for the written decision, and then 20 days for the,
Appeal period.
Appeal period, yeah.
And you have to record the decision.
Am I coming back?
no, you have to come back.
Oh,
It's paperwork.
I had so much
Hold on.
fun. All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right. Now. First, I got all the wrong information up there. Right on track. Look at this, perfect. Last meeting's information. Do you have time? If I steal that from one, there you go.
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, now we have 2286 Mariners Lane LLC. The petitioner is seeking a site plan approval with accordance, oh, I don't have to read this, we already read this in. Chance, I sent you that email again. Hopefully this one goes through. Oh, he's on there, okay. Hello, Ed.
Yes, hello, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I'm here.
Okay. So you guys can proceed from the last meeting.
Okay. Can you hear us? Yep. So just for introductions, so Bob Rigo, our engineer, Roy Cataniani, I'm the architect builder, not the architect, I employ the architect, and Mary Beth Hogan,
Hogan.
who is a principal of one of the schools that our client runs. So in case you had questions, I wanted her to be here to
Principal PLE or PAL?
pal, everyone's pal. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
The student's best friend.
Now that we got that clear.
So I'll turn it over to Bob.
Okay, so basically in the last meeting, we presented a general overview of the project.
Speak louder, please.
Yeah, I'll try, sorry. During the last meeting, we presented an overview of the project. And it got, at the board's request, it got sent out for peer review to Mr. Pesci to do an overall review of it. There was a sub-consultant for the drainage, Amory Engineering, and then a sub-consultant for the traffic assessment.
We can't hear you.
Oh, okay, sorry, I apologize.
If you want to sit sideways and look at us this way, I'm sure they'll be able to hear you better.
Okay.
Sit at the end of the table facing this way.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, so we we received comments back from on the overall project from Pesci Engineering and on the drainage from Amory Engineering. We just got those Friday from Amory on the drainage and today from Mr. Pesci. So we were able to respond to those comments today and have submitted them back in through email to the board, but I'm sure you probably haven't seen them yet because it was they were completed at such a late hour. We also had a traffic assessment performed. Traffic impact assessment was performed by Gill & Associates on our behalf. And I'll talk about the findings of that traffic assessment's been submitted for review, but we have not heard back from the review engineer. I guess they're working on it because they just got it, I believe, last week.
Thursday, yeah.
Yeah, last Thursday, and are still working on preparation of the response letter for that. Basically, during the previous meeting, the biggest discussion from the abutters and from the board was the effects of traffic on the project, and that's why we did the traffic impact assessment. The findings, and I'll just summarize them. I'm not the traffic engineer. They couldn't be here tonight. They had a conflicting meeting. But basically, they assessed how many trips would be generated from the project. And actually, that was Vanessa Associates did the actual trip generation, and then Gill & Associates used those numbers in their report. And they looked at the intersections near the project, including the intersection with Commerce and Proprietors, and then the intersection at Proprietors Drive and Plain Street and Furnace Street, and the Proprietors Drive and the site driveway. So they assessed all those based on the trip-generated traffic and determined basically there would be no impact or no additional impact from our project. The level of service at each of those intersections is not predicted to change during the morning peak hour or during the evening peak hour traffic. It's estimated that they'll generate about 90 trips, 89 during the morning peak hour and 90 during the evening peak hour. And that those would enter onto Proprietors Drive, and most of the traffic would head down Proprietors Drive towards Plain Street. And most of the traffic would arrive via Plain Street to the traffic driveway. But as stated, their results, their findings were that there would be no measurable impact to the operation of the intersections. They'd operate at level of service A for the Proprietors and Commerce, and then the existing Plain Street and Proprietors Drive would be maintained at a level of service of, basically in the AM it would be at a level of service B, and in the PM it would be a level of service C. And that would be unchanged by implementation of our project. And they looked at one other thing, which is the site distance from the driveway to the project, and determined that we needed about 298 feet to properly stop before the intersection or properly see to exit the intersection or the driveway, and that there was well over 300 feet in both directions that would provide for a proper safe site distance. So that's kind of the summary of the traffic impact assessment. In terms of the other comments, the engineering comments in terms of the water and sewer were relatively straightforward. We were able to respond back and comply with each of the comments from Amory engineers. They're mostly technical in nature. I won't go through each one, but we did reply back and revise the plans and the stormwater report accordingly, and there was nothing major. With the Pesci Engineering, again, there was nothing of great concern. we're able to comply with all of their requests and revise the plans accordingly. One of their requests was that we summarize the pickup and drop off at the daycare and how that would occur, and that's why we brought the principal of another school. So we've written a letter which I haven't submitted to the board yet, or the project applicant has. They operate several other facilities. So this is based on the operation of those other facilities, which are,
You may have it, but if you don't, I have copies here.
yeah,
This
similar.
is the letter that is dated today?
Yes,
Yeah,
yep.
just
I
came
don't
in.
know if it's on, if it's saved.
The author of that letter.
11th, thank you.
And they're able to predict this based on, very similar facilities with the same exact number of students, the same exact number of staff, and would have a very similar pickup and drop off procedure. So basically, it's going to be spaced in the mornings from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. would be the drop off.
So morning, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m.
Morning, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. And then evenings pickup would be at about 3 p.m. to 6 p.m.
So 3 p.m. to 6 p.m.
And that would be, there's set times for each people to drop off. They have established breakfast times and established snack times. And the people drop off, their families drop off their children based on those morning breakfast times, which vary from, those periods of time. So it results in the most. I had a chance to talk to the principal earlier of the other school, and she said that the maximum ever is this 15 to 20 cars is like the maximum that all at one time would be entering or exiting the facility. But that's an unusual condition.
15. Okay, so 15 cars maximum at any time coming and going.
How many?
15.
Oh, 15.
Yeah. Out of,
And
Go ahead.
This
I know you can't hear.
this data has been taken into account by your traffic engineer and the consulting traffic engineer?
yes.
They're ours is in the process of
Yeah.
reviewing, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, everyone's got the same data
Yeah,
that
yeah.
they're
Yeah.
analyzing,
And-
just to be clear.
Our,
I just want to make sure they can hear what you're
Yeah.
saying.
Well, he sat sideways, but he faced that way.
I'm sorry.
That's okay, but so
Sorry.
what is your, if you need to get caught up, what is your question?
I'm not sure if we heard the date that the traffic survey and the hours that the traffic survey.
Well, we haven't got our review back from our, so this is going to be continued again, obviously, so. All right?
Not sure if I missed a date.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. May I have your name, please?
I'm sorry, Margaret Kelleher, 19 Snowy Owl Lane.
Thank you so much.
All right, go ahead.
So, just a point of clarity, the data that they used was, the counts were from the International Traffic Engineers. So predicted counts based on similar facilities across the country, I believe, in urban areas. Our data is going to be a little more spread out, so we're probably predicting a higher peak. We're predicting a peak hour of 90 cars. So ours will probably be, based on the use of our facility, a little less than what's predicted in here. So there's an over-prediction of the traffic in our traffic.
So if the
report.
national data is 90 an hour, you're saying that yours would be less than that?
It would be less than that, correct?
But the consultants are going to consider 90 an hour?
90 an hour is going to be what's used as
Everyone
for
hear
the
that?
evaluation.
That I heard.
Okay.
We thought that possibly the consultant was going to have a representative here. I don't know who they are. We've seen them in the South.
Oh, no, they're not done with this, but we're going to listen to Ed next
Yeah.
when you guys are done. Are you done with your presentation?
Yeah, yes.
Thank you.
Ed, we can hear from you now.
Yes, hi, everybody. For the record, I'm Ed Pesci of Pesci Engineering, representing the zoning board for the peer review. With me tonight is Kirsten Braun from Ron Mueller Associates, who's doing the traffic review with us. Just for the record, Kirsten will get into this in a moment, but what you just discussed was the peak trip generation. and the actual number was 91 during weekday peak hour. So it was the morning peak hour that generated 91, the evening peak hour is 89. So plus or minus 90, but the number was 91. We multiply that by the previous cost per trip, $642.85, that we used for mitigation by the previous applicants on Commerce Way, and that comes to a traffic mitigation cost that we would request from the applicant of $58,499.35. Just want to get that clear up front. I know that we've been kind of waiting for the trip generation. I would agree with Mr. Rigo that the ITE trip generation data uses a nationalized overview of similar facilities. If their facility is going to spread that peak hour demand over a longer period, and that's their experience at other facilities, I think the letter they submitted a couple hours ago helps explain some of that. I haven't read it thoroughly and I haven't even discussed it with Kirsten yet, but I think that helps to understand what happens in the morning and in the evening. And I think it helps their case. At this very moment, I'm not sure we can waive some of the mitigation, but I think it helps their case. But that's up to the board. In my case, I submitted a report on Sunday night. I know everybody had holiday yesterday, but tried to get it out before the weekend was over. And there are a couple of things in here. I will note that I did receive emailed plans, the board did, and I did email revised plans from Mr. Rigo this afternoon. Mr. Rigo, did you send a response letter to yet, or did you not get to that before you got
I
me?
sent a response letter for the Amory engineer comments, but I did not send a response to yours. I wasn't quite able to finish it.
Okay.
So
I haven't received, and maybe something going on in my email, but I haven't received that letter yet, but I'll be on the lookout for it. Back to my review, I did have a chance while we were waiting for this to come up on the agenda, and I did have a chance to review the plans that Riverhawk Environmental had revised. And I have to say they addressed the majority of my comments, although I haven't reviewed it very thoroughly. I just need to do that in conjunction with the response letter that he has not sent to you all yet, to myself and you all. But it looks like, we're certainly headed in the right direction, and he understood the vast majority of my comments. And there are a couple there that I just quickly noticed. For instance, for Mr. Rigo's edification, we still need crosswalks at the main entrance. You have handicap ramps. We still need crosswalks there so that obviously people that are from the neighborhood using that sidewalk at the entrance will have a safe crosswalk location. So that needs to be added to the plans. That kind of minor things. So I don't see anything as a major design effort. Two areas though that I still think need amplification, and that is, I'm very concerned, and I think others have expressed concern as to when 125 students show up for a day of work, a day of school, or in daycare, are we going to have cars queued up on Proprietors Drive? And if not, why not? And I think that the applicant needs to do a better explanation of that, because that's probably one of our biggest concerns on traffic and circulation. So it looks like they have a pretty good loop that you could queue into in front of the school, and they must have this same problem at their other facilities. And I haven't heard yet, and maybe we will in a moment, that they have 125 student school somewhere else, or even 150 student school somewhere else, and they can explain how that's managed, and maybe we can allay fears or concerns for queuing in the street. Okay, that's number one. Number two, I don't know if if the applicant's teams had the chance to speak to the fire department, do a swept path analysis, speak to them about hydrant location and or FDC location, but that also needs to be done. That was mentioned in my write-up as well. Thirdly, I wanted to ask about an earthwork analysis. As the board is certainly aware, we are very much in tune with cut and fill analysis and earthwork that has to be done on a site for construction, and if there's an excess amount of fill that has to be cut and removed from the material, from the site, I would want to know, for the board's benefit, if that's going to be a major impact to the neighborhood or to the network, street network. I don't think it's going to be more than anything that you would commonly require the construction of the building, because there is some grading on the site that has to be done, but it looks like it's not a significant cut. But I still need to have that so that that can be answered. The majority of the other comments that I have are all small, technical in nature. I would kind of echo what Mr. Rigo said. I wouldn't bother going into that right now with the board, and I have to say the majority of them have already been addressed in my quick analysis by this. I want to thank the applicant for getting Mr. Gillen and Indeed Vanessa and Associates for getting engaged to do the traffic report. I'm aware that they just were not aware that would be something the board would want. So I'm glad that actually got accomplished, albeit last minute, but at least it got accomplished. With that said, I will segue into discussion by Kirsten. Kirsten's had a chance to look at this only briefly and speak to her boss, Ron Mueller, about it. But Kirsten, I know you have some preliminary comments that you'd like to mention to everybody.
Thanks, Ed, and for the record, Kirsten Braun, the traffic peer reviewer with Ron Mueller Associates. So we did receive the traffic assessment at the end of last week, so we haven't had a chance to formally respond with our comments in writing, but we did go through the study to really just look for any high-level comments, things that would really impact the nature of the study. So I do have a few comments. None of them are very major. We generally do agree with the findings that were shown in the study that was done. The minor comments we do have really won't have an impact on really the ultimate findings of the study, but I did want to make note of some of the things that we had noticed in our initial review. We do agree with the trip generation of the site. The applicant did use nationally accepted trip generation rates, which is the industry standard to use. They base that information on the number of students, which is also the standard to do here with these sorts of daycare facilities. And so as Ed had mentioned, we can expect 91 weekday AM peak hour trips and 89 weekday PM peak hour trips. We do also share the same concerns as Ed regarding queuing of cars on site. We probably do need to get some more information regarding arrival and departure times to really get an understanding of what's going to be happening on site and to really make sure that those queues don't spill out onto the street. It's really important to not impact the street with the queuing for drop-off and pickup. We did note that the traffic study did build upon the previous studies that were completed for Mill Creek Residential and New England Academy, both of which were studies that we actually did review. We did notice that in our original review of the New England Academy study, I just wanted to highlight there was a discrepancy there based on the number of students. We haven't actually received comments or responses back to that original study. So I know that the trips generated by that site that were used in this study were based on 70 students. There might be a few more trips that we can expect if the number of students at that site is greater, which might have an impact on the study area, a minor impact. That's just something we wanted to highlight. We also thought there might be an apparent error in the 2029 base volumes that were used for the site. Essentially what they did here is they took the build condition volumes from Mill Creek and New England Academy and sort of layered on the traffic that you would expect from this site. Specifically during the weekday PM peak hour, there was it was unclear where some of the numbers had come from. So we just asked the applicant to check that and make sure that the numbers they're using are accurate. But we do also want to point out, though, that the volumes here are specifically at Proprietors Drive and Commerce Way are relatively low, which was the intersection that the volumes were a little confusing. So we don't really expect, even if they do update the volumes, for there to be really an impact there. The intersection, as was mentioned, operates at level of service A. We don't expect that to change. As I said, it's a relatively low volume intersection, but we just wanted to point that out. Ultimately, though, we do agree that the project has limited traffic impacts. We don't expect there to be an adverse impact traffic-wise onto the adjacent streets. So we do agree with the ultimate findings of the study, but as Ed had mentioned, we do recommend that the project contribute to that traffic mitigation fund, which is based on the number of peak hour trips, which here would be 91. We did have some comments on the site plan. I know we just received a site plan, an updated site plan, just before this meeting. I see some of the comments we originally had have been adequately addressed, mostly pertaining to internal signing and striping. So we did request that a stop line and stop sign be included at driveway exit. We also agree with Ed that we would like to see a striped crosswalk there, and the stop bar should be 4 feet back from that striped crosswalk. So those were some of the big things that we noted in the site plan. I haven't had a chance to fully go through the updated plans yet, but we also did request that a swept path analysis be completed for the largest fire truck that could be used around site. So that would require some coordination with the Marshfield Fire Department, and to ensure that the fire department does have adequate accessibility to all sides of the building. So those are just the general highlights of what we saw. Like I said, we're working through finalizing our initial review letter, but we should have that to the board and the applicant within the next couple of days.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kirsten. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I guess that's our report for tonight, subject to your questions.
Okay. Do you have any questions from the board?
I'm good.
I don't have any questions at this time.
Steve, you have anything? Bob, you got any questions?
Nope.
Andrew, do you have any questions?
Nope.
Thank you.
Real comment, real quick. You run the facility in Plymouth, correct?
This company does. This young lady is the
Yeah.
principal of the facility.
Size-wise, what is this facility gonna be to the one in Plymouth?
She's in Dennis.
I'm in Dennis.
Yeah, but the one, I haven't seen the one in Plymouth. I mean, Dennis, I've seen the one in Plymouth. I've been there, I've driven down there. I work out of my car. I sat there for an hour and watched the place.
So
Size-wise.
in South Dennis, we can have up to 145.
Mm-hmm.
Currently, right now, we have about 125. So
Okay, so it's pretty close to
So it's
equivalent.
very similar.
This one is designed exactly as Plymouth. It's a twin.
This is
So
the
what you
twin
saw
to
there
Plymouth.
would be built here.
Okay,
It's 125.
okay. Thank you.
Hey, Mr. Chairman, a follow-up question to that?
Sure.
Can I ask what the size of the facility in Dennis is then?
Is it bigger than this?
In Dennis, we have 2 buildings that can serve up to 145 together total
Okay.
at this time.
Okay? Because I obviously am in Dennis, so I can take a quick look at that.
Yes.
Okay, good. So do you have anything from the audience? Go ahead, we'll just work our way backwards.
Bernie Dupuy. I had concerns before, and after hearing the information now, I still have concerns about traffic. They're saying, 145 cars between students and drop-offs every day, between 25 staff members, I believe it was, and that. So you're talking 145 cars in the morning, 145 cars in the afternoon, over a 3-hour time span each way. Well, with my mathematical background, as you well know, Brian.
Yes.
I did the math. That's 1 car every 75 seconds for a 3-hour span. 1 car every 75 seconds for a 3-hour span. That's a lot of traffic going up there. I would venture to say it's probably 20 times the amount of traffic going up there already. And that's before any other second Madera, Mill Creek, whatever gets built along the way. My concern is, A, the volume of the traffic, and B, the fact that when they're coming in and trying to get out of that one intersection, it's gonna be a log jam, and anyone coming off of Old Woodlot trying to take a right-hand turn and go down there, you're gonna run into a traffic jam. None of those that street is not posted as no parking. So people can park on either or both sides of that. And I can tell you point blank, if I park my car about 30 feet back from that intersection, and someone else parked it coming down 20 feet from that intersection, there would be a log jam. No one would get into that school. There's gotta be, even if considering this, that has to be zoned a no parking zone on either side. When the Boys and Girls Club have activities and they're parking there, you can't get up and down that street, okay? This is gonna make it even worse. I had mentioned before, coming in that entrance, coming out on the back end of it, and exiting onto Proprietor's Drive. I'm looking at the dimensions in there, and I don't have the actual write-up, but there certainly is room to have a one-way exit on the back end of that exit. If you want me to go up, I can explain. I'm not
Sure, go ahead, Bernie.
I'm not sure if you understand what I mean by the back end of that exit.
I'm assuming you mean over by the Commerce
Here's
Way
the
side.
entrance,
Yep.
okay? By the way, the entrance is 29 feet, okay? I measured today, the road is only 26. So put a car on either side of that, think about what's gonna happen. 29 feet, trying to get in and out. There, drop off, park, go out and exit this side of the building. People going to Boston could then take a right-hand turn, go down this way, Proprietor's Green, and exit out that way. If they happen to be returning back to Marshfield, they could go this way and back down. They're not gonna clog up that intersection.
I see you
To me, it's a
wanna,
very logical explanation. How much distance do you need in there?
well,
It's
we'll
a
take
one-
your suggestions, Bernie, and then we'll ask Bob.
It's a one-way, and then what I'm looking at, 21.5 feet for a one-way road. That's almost as wide as this is right now. 21 feet, 26. There certainly could be a one-way exit out from there, out at the Commerce Way.
Okay.
It'd solve an awful lot of headaches and an awful lot of problems. And
Thank
it's
you.
not a real difficult situation to clear up.
All right.
Thank you.
Go ahead, name and address.
Dennis Kelleher, 19 Snowy Owl. I have a couple of things I want to give you. I didn't have a chance to, I wanted to send it in, but the files were too big. So I wanted you to look at this, okay? That's their site. Now, these are the Snowy Owl
Homes, yeah.
homes. 26 feet, and if you can see, all these trees are gonna be taken down in order to do that. More importantly is just how close it is to where people live. And, you know, we've discussed maybe is there some mitigation that could be done, no matter what. The traffic and the dirt and the noise, people are living right on top of this school. Okay? So I wanted to have that, leave this with you
Sure,
so
thank you.
you can see it and understand this is the road that they're talking about going up. I'm sorry, thanks, Mike. Here's another, on here is actually 2 videos of the entire area, aerial videos, okay?
So like a
And-
drone.
Drone. And
Would you say the file was too big to send, or?
what's that? Yeah,
Oh,
I wanted to send them in, but they're 7-8 megabytes, and the movies, the videos are quite large. so-
Yeah, we have like a 25 megabyte limit.
Yeah, so what I did was I left you
Oh, okay, I see, yep.
a flash drive. I would like to be able to show it, because I think it really is sort of interesting for the board to see this. And as you can see, they're right up against the other school area,
Right.
okay?
There's actually, I think there's a lot between them, but,
There may be a lot between them. Maybe they should buy that, maybe, well, you know? But in any event, this is the road coming up.
yep.
I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. As you can see, there's the intersection for the Boys and Girls
Yep.
Club. This is again the road again, and it gives you an idea of just how close that is. And
Yeah,
there is
yeah, I drove up
There's
to
no
look at it.
buffering whatsoever. between that. If they take all of those trees down and they're right up against, from what I saw, right to the edge of the property line and the sidewalk, people are gonna be listening to that all the time. I think it has to be considered. The people are 55 and older like I am. Okay, so they... Smile, I wasn't sure.
Well, that's because I'm over 55.
Okay, but then you understand what we're talking about. So I just wanted to leave that with you as well.
Thank you.
But I would really like to have been
Yeah,
able
we
to
can, we'll be
show
able
the
to
drone
look
the
at,
next time.
we'll be able to see that, so.
And
And we'll,
I think the people would like to see it as well.
Okay.
Because it goes all the way up the road, down around the turn, it shows the private drive. One thing that I did notice when they put this up here, they said the address was, Commerce.
thanks.
Is it Commerce or is it Proprietor's Drive?
There's Commerce on it.
It has
It
frontage
says-
on 2 streets, so they get to choose their frontage.
Well, it was stated in that letter that it's Commerce. And I'm not sure whether or not the lot itself is not zone, but the deed shows it as Commerce. You know what I'm saying?
I'm just guessing, because I don't know the answer to this, but it's
Yeah, I don't
likely
either.
that they picked Commerce because the building is really close on the side
Of proprietors.
of Commerce.
Yeah, Commerce.
See the left-hand
Oh, I
side?
understand that,
If
yeah.
you're standing on Commerce, looking at the proposed building, it's, it's probably that way because
Yeah, okay,
they get to take advantage of more of the site that way.
I'll say. So in any event, and this is a non-conforming lot, so that's the other part of the situation, is we're jamming something right in there that's gonna have an effect. And we've been talking about that whole area. Which, you know, if the planning board was to look again, not only do you have Mill Creek that's coming down, but there's another piece of property owned by the same fellow just beyond that, to the east. And that's buildable property too. That could be 40B. That, I don't know what the planning board has said about that, but it's getting pretty heavily populated there. And I think that has to be taken into consideration. The traffic, obviously, you've had people speak about it, but at the same time, that type of right across the street, less than 26 feet away from where people are living. You know, we've asked, and we talked about with the applicant, about some mitigation. They said, no way. I mean, I think the neighborhood needs that kind of a thing. If this was to go through at all, there has to be some buffering.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Name and address again for, I know you're,
We've been discussing queuing and traffic tonight, so I'd like to address my comments toward that. I'll try not to expound, and I'm not looking for answers right now, but I just want to draw out a few more of my observations. I understand about the car trips, I understand about the drop-offs and the pickups. I'm wondering what added vehicles there would be. Are there going to be commercial vehicles, food trucks, deliveries also being made on a daily basis, at what time, and what impact will that also have on the traffic or the queuing up of vehicles? I don't remember the exact terminology for the standardized number of trips that are used, and you're at the 90 cars, which is within the standardized acceptance. I don't know the terminology, but I'm wondering if that takes into account the type of setting that we have on proprietors, or is it also bringing information on where other facilities have been put on divided highways, or more expansive roadways, or that type of a setting versus the closed-in type of neighborhood setting we have here? Do we still have that as a standardized reference when it's a whole different type of environment where this school is going to be put in? I'd also like to know if the loop that's going to be proposed is similar to size, distance off the street as the Boys and Girls Club's loop is. I'm a visual learner, and I have noticed all summer long the queuing up of cars for the day camp that's been there all summer.
I don't even know truthfully how many cars have been involved with that queuing up of dropping off or picking up children at the summer camp. But I am very familiar, as being a former school teacher, what it's like to queue cars in front of a school dropping off and picking up children on rainy days or inclement days. The line can go on forever and take much longer than 75 seconds. Not only that, there is always that little concern about, do we have the correct students, the Kelleher kids, the Smith kids, the Jones kids, ready for the cars that are in queue. I do a little carpooling up at Carroll's school for my grandchildren, and I have to queue in a line to make sure that the children that I'm picking up, my grandchildren, are ready for when my car approaches forward. Again, this causes delays. These are the realities that are just not written on a piece of paper as far as standardized whatever. There are always going to be unknown factors with children and families. I've seen the queuing for camp at Boys and Girls Club. My question is, what's the comparison with what this proposal is going to be for this school? I'm not opposed to schools. I'm a 34-year retired teacher who has done bus duty and is right now queuing at schools for my grandchildren. I know how that can go. Oh, I queue up at least 15 minutes to make sure I get the right grandchildren in my car. I also would like to know, please, and I'm sorry I'm going on.
Real quick, how many children are at that school that you queue up at?
At Carroll's school, it's only for the day kids that are being picked up. I'm going to say, from what I can see, there are approximately 25 cars that queue up in 2 lines.
How many children are at the school?
Well, I don't know, but I could find out if you're interested.
Sure.
I could actually
yeah.
I know I could find out.
Good.
It's few within this.
Mm-hmm.
Because it looks to me that it might be 45 kids or something, but I don't want to say that on record, but I will find out. So I personally queue up. I know what it's like.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a school teacher who handled bus duty. I know what queuing up is all about. I know what inclement weather means for all the perfect, on paper, swifting through 75 seconds. And I know that cars at the Boys and Girls Club all summer long were queued up out onto proprietors. Now when the wonderful parents, caretakers were taking their children out from the Boys and Girls Club, and again, I don't know how many children, these are things that can be found out. You come out, those who want to take a left turn back to 139 can't even see because there are cars lined up on proprietors coming in to continue their queuing. Those who have picked up their children can't make a safe turn, and any of us who might be returning with our groceries cannot get by that intersection. I'm just bringing these up as a person who has observed, a person who has a personal background, and I want the safety for everybody. Oh, my last question, and it comes to do with what you were saying about another access. Is there a secondary emergency access? If for any reason that one main entrance was blocked for whatever reason, an accident, but a fire engine or an ambulance or someone had to access that building, what's their secondary access into the property? Thank you.
Thank you.
That was actually a point I meant to make up there. That exit on the back one way would also give access to the fire department or other emergency vehicles. Thank you. I forgot to mention that.
Thank you. Is there anyone else?
Go ahead. Maureen O'Malley, 12 Old Woodlot Lane. I happened to be in Plymouth for an appointment, and I noticed the location there. It is much more industrial than what we're looking at here. And there are at least 3 medical buildings with a ton of parking. And it also appears that that location has a specific parking lot for their employees. So I think they said that there were, I want to say 100 spots for parking in this So if you have 25 employees, you're down to 75 spots, if that's what it was. It's just that I don't think that there are sufficient parking spots for when they come in to drop off, because they don't come up to the door. My understanding is they park the car, take the child out of the car and go walk to the building and go in. So there's always spots taken. So it's not like it's coming in and somebody's taking the child out of the car and then they just drive off. So the number of spots, and maybe you can, one of the gentlemen here can let us know what the number of parking spots is.
49.
49? So, and then you've got 25 employees?
Yeah.
So you're only looking at 25 parking spaces that will be available for the people that are coming in to drop off.
Thank you. Oh, here's next.
Dennis Shadnoff, Snowy Owl. Actually, question, there was a discussion about doing the queuing analysis. Would it be possible to add into that analysis, albeit it's 3 months in the summer, but the Boys and Girls Club traffic associated with the fact that the summer camp comes in? Because there is a queuing issue just with the summer traffic for the camps. And if that could be at least factored into the analysis, I think it would help. And the second question is, and I'm not sure I know how this would work, but we do know there'll be another development, we believe, that will be somewhere around 40 residences on Old Woodlawn. Is that pro forma or looked at in the analysis as the bigger picture? Because that, I mean, that'll be, a fair amount of traffic associated with that as well. So what we're trying to do is get an idea of the whole picture here.
Okay, thank you.
Dennis Kelleher, 19 Snowy Owl. As a former federal agent, one of the things that I sort of look at is risk management for schools, okay? And we all know that schools have become targets across the United States. I'd like to know from them, I mean, for the safety part of the school, if they're in a non-conforming lot, how do they mitigate the risk if there's an incident at the school? Where are the rally points if they were going to go and do that? Is there room for rally points? If it's during a time, let's say we had a violent incident in the school, where do they and how do they manage that particular problem on a small lot like that, where they really can't move their students other than to the parking lot, which is not really a great idea if we're moving in it, especially if there was a fire, an alarm system going off, or whatever it might be. I don't see a lot of room there for that.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Maureen O'Malley, 12 Old Woodlawn, just an addendum on mine. So in addition to all of the extra parking spaces down in Plymouth, there are 3 actual exits or entrances into that building. So it's a lot more space for them to come in and out and not have anybody backing up.
Okay, thank you. So anything else from the board?
Yeah, I'd just like to make a comment. The community's got to remember, this lot is going to be developed, that something is going to go there. And you've got to sit back as a community and think to yourselves, what do you want to see there? Maybe look and see what can actually go there. You've got a business that's going to be Monday through Friday, no nights, no weekends, no holidays. Going to be children, professional, brand new. These are all considerations that you need to, that if I was living in Snowy Owl, I would be thinking of these things. Because there could be something else that could pop up there. These people could walk out tonight and say, we're going elsewhere. And you could have something that you wouldn't be happy with. And
Can I respond to that? I don't think there was any objection to what's being put here. Am I missing something, that we were objecting to a school going on?
well, it's traffic. I get there's traffic. I totally get it.
Yeah.
There's been numerous traffic studies done here. With this 40B project that just went through, there was numerous traffic studies done. There was traffic studies done when this first whole complex was laid out. So it is going to be developed. And again, I look at it, if I was living in your community, I live in your community, if I was living in your complex, these are things I'd be looking at. And, you know, traffic needs to be addressed, absolutely. But, you know, think about it.
Yeah, I mean, I hope you don't think we don't understand that, because we're here too.
Yeah.
And we're talking about traffic.
Absolutely.
And I think what you're trying to say is the devil you know might be better than the devil you don't know. If these guys walked out, which you just said.
Yeah, absolutely.
I get that. We all get that.
Yeah.
But we're not objecting to being neighbors with a preschool and a daycare. What we're here to try and understand is how we coexist as best as possible.
The biggest issue has been traffic. You've got traffic that's going to be there Monday through Friday, no nights, no weekends, no holidays. That, I think that's a major consideration you need to take.
Go ahead, Barry.
Again, I'm not against the school. Former school teacher, 37 years. I know what it's like to be in education. I know what it's like to queuing the whole 9 yards, coaching in kids and so forth. Our issues are not with the school. I think I'm not speaking for anyone but myself, but I heard no one tonight say I'm against the school. And you're right, there could be a lot.
I'm saying the business, the type. I'm not saying the school. I never said the school. I said the type of business that's going there.
Right.
That is applying to go there.
Right.
It's going to be developed. Unless you buy it, Bernie, and do nothing with it, it's going to be developed.
$1 I might, but anyway, that's not going to happen. Our concern, quite honestly, is mitigating the traffic. You're not going to stop the cars from coming up there. We get that. We totally get that. What we want to do is make it, and I'll use the word compassion, okay? If I'm coming out of Old Woodlot or whatever and want to go down to Roach Brothers or go downtown or head to the highway, okay, there's my way out of there. You know, and I think to put another exit behind that building, a one-way, not both way, okay, a one-way exit behind there eliminates the potential of eliminating half of the traffic. You come in one way.
I personally think that's a good idea if it's feasible. If it's feasible, I think that would be a good idea.
Yeah. I think it would eliminate, and a lot of people leaving from there, if they're dropping their kids off, there's a good chance they're working north of here or out towards Pembroke. They would leave that way and take a right-hand turn and go down Enterprise instead of flowing back in. Otherwise, you get two-way traffic getting in that intersection. That in itself, just the fact that it's two-way, is going to tie up traffic. Okay, if you have a second exit, you eliminate half of the traffic. You also have a fire lane and an emergency lane in that. That to me is, you know, I mentioned before compassion. We're not impassionate in terms of doing this. I think a school is probably a good option. It may be the best option, quite honestly, to be in that particular spot. Because as you say, maybe it's only 5 days a week. It's not nights, weekends, and holidays. We just want to work with these people and say, hey, look, we got a traffic issue now. It's only going to get worse. Can you do something to fix it? I think that's all we're asking for is we want to work with you, but let's fix the traffic issue before it gets so out of hand that, you know, do we want to see traffic jams up there where we have to call police because, you know, it's so tied up? That happened this summer. I actually went to the police department and I asked them to please go up to the Boys and Girls Camp at 4 o'clock and please go up, take a left onto Roach Brothers and try to go to the top of the hill to get beyond the traffic. You can't. You absolutely cannot do it. You're queuing with that traffic in there. That's already there now happening. Add another school, it's going to get worse. And if you're trying to go in and out in the same thing, one of the reasons for it being as bad as it is the Boys and Girls Club. Again, they've got one entrance, one exit. Okay? That could probably be fixed as well if it had an entrance and it went out by that dirt road on the other side where the dog park is. That probably could eliminate some traffic as well. But, you know, there are things, as your job in that, I think, is to look at saying, you know what, let's come up with a solution that will work not only for the school, but will work for the entire neighborhood for the betterment of that. Again, we're not against the school.
Hey, Ed,
Isn't this use one of the lowest impacts for traffic?
You're asking if this is the lowest
Not lowest, but it's in the category of lower impacts.
It's lower than retail, but is it lower than office? No.
Okay.
I mean, Kirsten, would you care to comment about that? I know that catching you kind of off guard there, but would you agree with my description there that the traffic demand is certainly lower than retail could be, but also could be higher than office use?
Yeah, that's correct. That's correct in what you said. This is obviously not one of the highest trip generating land uses, but there are other less impactful land uses out there. But this certainly is nothing like retail or what you would see with that kind of development.
So I really think you need to document, I think the applicant just needs to document that on any given hour, here's how many vehicles that are gonna be in our parking lot, occupying the 24 free parking spaces that will be available, and/or queuing in a line, and here's how we will manage the traffic, and here's how it will happen, and then I've dropped off kids and grandkids to preschools many times, right? You're in and out in 5 minutes. Usually that's all it takes, especially if they know who you are, okay? You're not a new face. But is that gonna be fast enough? I think that's the question that they need to answer. And it sounds like they've given us part of the answer, and I think it would be good to get a little bit more information to walk us all through that scenario, that morning use scenario, which is the bigger trip generator. Or peak trip generator, I should say.
All right, thanks, Hitch.
Just one comment, it's not a question of just dropping off, it's my understanding that they actually walk them into the building and into the classroom. That was the question I had asked of this group before. So it's not like I'm pulling my car up, parking, dropping them off the door they're in, and I wave goodbye and I'm gone. They're actually walking into the building, into the classroom. That's the time-consuming factor.
Mary Beth, is that what happens at your school?
They do, and it's typically, I would say, a few minutes. The parents come up, they take the children into the classroom, say good morning. Of course, we don't want the long goodbyes because that's hard on the children. So then they're trying to get to work. So it's not a 10-minute process. It's a few minutes in, then out.
But the parents are parking.
They do park the cars, they turn the cars off, they walk in with the children, drop them off, and then go right out. So, like I was telling Roy, it's all dependent on schedule too. Breakfast time is at a certain time. We stagger our times for breakfast. We stagger our times in the afternoon for afternoon snack. So some children may have breakfast at 8 o'clock. That may be the toddler class, which has 9 children. So those 9 children may be there for 8 o'clock. Then 8:20 may be the other toddler class. So those children come in
Yeah, you
at
said
that
it's
time.
15 cars maximum.
Yeah.
So, the other question that came up, are you providing food? Are you going to have like food deliveries, or is there no?
What we do at my school, and I don't know about this school, so I don't want it to be locked down. We have Peapod delivery once a week, and that typically is between 8 and 10 a.m. We can change the times, and then we do U.S. Foods once a month, and that's typically around 12 o'clock.
Thank you.
So it's a quick in and out with them, too.
Thanks. All right, so Ed's done. Any more questions from the board? Anything more from the audience?
This is going to be continued?
No. Yes.
I just want, if I may ask the lovely principal here the question. I'm hearing parking and walking across the parking lot with your children while other cars are coming in and out at the same time. And I know, because I do the preschool at Pudding Hill, and that's a small establishment, and I know what it's like to have an open parking lot and hold on to your little one while cars are coming and going. And then I've also tonight heard about queuing of cars. Is there such a thing as queuing to drop kids off and pick them up, or is it all?
No, it's all parking, and then there's a walkway that the children and the parents walk through the parking lot. which is right in the middle, right to the front door.
And how many parking spaces are there for parents who are dropping off or picking up?
I believe they said there was a total
24.
of
24.
24. And how fast, like turning tables over in a restaurant, how
Right.
fast would those parking spaces have to turn over so that we don't, so parents aren't waiting in their car queuing up to get one of those parking
At
spaces?
my school, I have never had parents waiting in the cars for a spot. There's always been a spot available because, like I said, you have to remember that everyone's not coming at 8 o'clock. So you won't have 125 children come in at 8 o'clock.
A visual
Right.
feel for that.
Well, they said there's only 15, at the maximum, there's 15 cars
15 to
parked there
20.
at one point.
And may I ask where that, on the map, where the drop-off or walk-in, is it on the front or on the side?
I believe it's right in the middle, correct?
It's on the side.
You can see it right
In
there.
the side?
There's 2 rows of parking. And
Why don't
then,
you just go up and
yeah.
point to it? Thank you.
So basically, most of the parents would be parking in this vicinity. There's a center walkway. It's 5 foot wide, that they'd be able to walk down, and then there's a striped crosswalk to the main entrance of the building.
The safety is important. And would there be enough room for emergency vehicles to come into a parking lot that's fully?
All right, thank you. This is good enough. Is there anyone else that has anything else to say? All right. So Nancy, when is our next?
25th.
25th. So hopefully we'll have our traffic study from our end done to be reviewed. We've got some information tonight that we can take under advisement. See if you guys can answer some of the pertinent questions. Have you go back and forth with Ed on that. And we'll continue this meeting to, when is that again, the 25th?
October 25th.
October 25th at 6:30.
Brian, did you say 25th?
25th, yep. What's it? Oh, Larry second.
Oh, Larry, second.
All in favor?
Larry Keane, aye.
Brian Sullivan, aye?
Brian Murphy, aye.
Mark Corwin, aye.
Feeney? Thank you.
25th.
All right, is there anything else, Nancy? That's it? Adjourn. Well, I just want to hold on for a few minutes with Steve Feeney. We want to just have a little discussion first, keep him online a little longer.
Very good, Brian.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Motion to adjourn?
Second?
All those in favor?
Larry Keane, aye.
Brian Sullivan, aye?
Brian Murphy, aye.
Mark Corwin, aye.
Stevie,
Thank you.